In Melbourne town, where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind. He's the Aussie Overlaw'd. He'll fight for your rights, and he's got his own channel shining bright. From the courtroom to the web, he's got
And good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to today's episode of To Be Advised. Yes, I have energy. Yes, I am... I really shouldn't phrase it like that. How are we doing, folks? Yeah, I'm a little... whatever you want to call it, but a little bit more reinvigorated, a little bit on the mend, shall we say. But keen, eager, and raring to go. This, however, will be a show where I have literally nothing, so... looking much better. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I do feel quite a lot better than I did on Sunday evening, my time. It was a hell of a night from there onwards. I will be perfectly honest. I don't think I slept more than 20 minutes at a time. But you know, it was a rough night, and I had to take a day and a half or so off work, which was not great. But we're back. We're back in the saddle, and we are back talking to you guys. How are you all doing? Hope you've had a half-decent week so far. I know that for those of us that are across the ditch, it is, ooh, what do we got? 9:45 Tuesday night. And for everyone else, what? Tuesday morning. Did I have to get the cream out? No, thank God. And Jason never got a notification. Not shocked, Jason. Also, first thing I want to do is give a big screw you to YouTube. Mighty got completely demonetized, so he is now streaming exclusively over on Rumble. I very much suggest you go and give him a follow if you, you know, whether you can deal with the platform or not. The fact that YouTube's already starting to censor people is not okay, in my opinion. But, yeah. So, I mean, I basically just set this out as one where I was going to just sort of take it easy and chat and that sort of thing. But up here, I'm sitting here going, okay, I've got FOMO because I've missed 2 days of doing anything reasonably meaningful, and I need to, you know, provide some benefit, provide some entertainment, and provide some, I don't know, what's the word for it? What's a buzzword? What's a buzzword? What's a buzzword? The buzzword is value. I need to provide value for you, the viewers. Now, the main thing that I was going to talk about was that, what's his name? The sergeant? No, the former sheriff's deputy. The one that shot the woman who rebuked him in the name of Jesus. Well, he's now up on murder charges. So I thought that would be something that we could talk about. But beyond that, I'm going to start planning out a few other things, and you've been giving me... what? You've been getting bird flu jab ads on Twitter. That's not disturbing at all. Hello, Still Life. How you doing, mate? I've also come to the conclusion, and you know what? I may have said this a couple of times before, and frankly, occasionally I need to give myself a kick in the rear end, even when, you know, bad as it sounds, I can hear it from chat, I can hear it from the wife, I can hear it from whoever else, until I actually, like, remind myself of it. I'm working on the whole not stepping on people's toes. So, I'm just going to try and start covering a few more things, irrespective of whether or not I feel like they're being done to death, whether or not I feel like I can actually provide any value to them anyway, because people keep saying they like hearing different positions on various things, and you're very welcome, Still Life. And I think a few of those things include, for example, the Koberger case, Courtney Clenny, a few other things that are going on, because I've personally tried to be careful not to upset people, shall we say, because let's face it, certain other channels can have fairly rabid subscriber bases, shall we say. I need to pause that video that's off to the side because it is driving me insane, the fact that I can see myself rabbiting on in the corner. But beyond that, I'm just going to do what I can to put my heart and soul into this. I've been treating it as a side gig, and frankly, I think I can genuinely make a go of this. So it's something that I need to put a little bit more time and effort into, and if I actually treated it properly, I think it would make a huge difference. And so that's what I plan on doing. Fingers crossed. Although they say that you should never tell anyone your plans, because then you never follow through on them, particularly with me, because I'm just a pain in the ass like that. But in any event, people, let's get stuck into it, shall we? Alrighty. Do is I want to make that, and then there we go. Okay. So this is in relation to the individual that decided that it'd be a good idea to, what's the most offensive way that I can put this? Bust a cap in Granny's ass when she turned around and said, "Oh, I'm going to rebuke you in the name of Jesus because..." You know what? I can't even remember exactly what he said that caused her to turn around and say that, I can't remember. I legitimately cannot remember. Former sheriff's deputy charged with murder thought that Massey was going to kill him. Bullshit. You're a fucking twat. A former Sangamon County sheriff's deputy charged with murder said he thought that Sonia Massey was going to throw boiling liquid on him and his partner on July 6th when they responded to Massey's home for a possible prowler. We know that that's full of shit. Having watched that video, she was not within throwing distance, having seen how she tried to throw the pot. And yes, look, I will admit, it does appear that in a single frame of the body camera footage, it appears as if she was trying to tip the pot in their general direction. You know how you sort of remove yourself from that situation? Kinda does the trick. You don't exactly have to put a 9mm slug into somebody's brain. Also, following that, when your partner attempts to go and get a medical kit, you don't have to turn to them and say, "Yeah, no, don't worry about it. That's a headshot. She's done." Only for us to find out that 5 minutes later, she's still breathing. Yeah, that was still well freaking done, that was. In his report released by Sangamon County on Monday, Sean P. Grayson admitted that when Massey twice said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," I interpreted that to mean she was going to kill me. I'm going to tell you off in the name of a deity. I'm going to murder you. I mean, he's got to be either some sort of religious fanatic or full of shit. The release includes 30 pages of reports from the other sheriff's deputies responding to the shooting. Massey, a 36-year-old black woman who lived in the 2800 block of Hoover Avenue in an unincorporated area of Woodside Township. Grayson shot Massey in the face after demanding that she drop the pot of liquid. He pled not guilty to the charges in Sangamon County on July 18. He remains in custody. That was the actual. The report was written on July 9, 3 days after the shooting. Grayson had requested and was given permission to review body camera footage of the call. In the report, he admitted that he was in imminent fear of getting boiling liquid over his face or chest, which would have caused bodily harm or death. He didn't know the type of liquid that she was boiling. Is the stream skipping? Stream should not be skipping. I have no issues. Everything's going out from what I can tell, and I've had no drop frames. If you're having issues, maybe consider dropping down the resolution. No, Nick, not at this point, as far as I'm aware. Um, this is rare. There are no horrible people here, so I can be nice. Well, mate, like I said, I think I said it to you once. You know, you're my favorite troll, and at one point, you offered to troll someone back for me. So you know, can't really like. I have no animosity towards you whatsoever, buddy. I actually appreciate you being here. Did you see that Sonia Massey's 4-year-old cousin was killed by cops? I'm sorry, what? They were what now? No, I did not see that, Jason. What? Hang on. Why did I just started typing Jason into my Google search bar. Sonia Massey. 4-year-old cousin. No fucking way. No fucking way. Hang on. No, that's stuff about Massey and that there were red flags. Police killed Sonia Massey's 4-year-old cousin Terrell Miller in March. Here's what we know. No. Chicago Times 10 hours ago. And of course, trust MSNBC to bring up the lynching of her ancestor. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Hang on. Let me finish this and then we'll get back to that. He's pled not guilty to the charges. The report was written, In the report, he admitted that he was in fear of his life. Grayson indicated that he gave Massey loud, clear verbal commands to drop the pot. After Massey ducked down behind the cabinet, Grayson said he came closer to make sure she'd not grab any other weapon. I would argue that you've placed yourself into harm's way there, but anyway, I digress. He insisted that she threw the boiling substance at me. I fired a duty weapon in Sonia's direction. I observed her fall to the ground behind the counter. Dude, you shot her in the fucking head. In another report, Deputy Jason Eccleston described Grayson as visibly shaken up and tried to support him at the scene. His patrol car, Eccleston advised Grayson not to speak about what happened. Grayson admitted in his report that he thought he'd activated his body-worn camera at the beginning of the call, then realised he hadn't, and told his supervisor at the scene. After getting cleared medically at Springfield Memorial, Grayson was interviewed by Illinois State Police investigators at the Sheriff's Office. In a report made up by Sergeant James Hayes, a witness told him that Massey had been in a medical facility out of town. The witness described to Hayes how Massey was in her yard yelling at one point, as she threw a brick through one of the windows of her own vehicle. Okay, yes, she was a crackpot. She may have been mentally unwell. Still doesn't deserve a bullet through between the eyes. Just saying. July 5, Massey told the sheriff's deputy in an interview that she broke the window on the back driver's side door in an attempt to get into the car to get away from a neighbor. She was unable to get through the back, so she ripped out the driver's side window in order to gain entry to the vehicle, resulting in some minor scratch. Okay, now what's the nephew? Sonia Massey's baby cousin Terrell is the 4-year-old black boy killed by Illinois cops in March. Is this the one that I looked at the other day? Killer's currently being held on bail. Massey's killer is being held on without bail on multiple charges of murder. Massey's little cousin Terrell Miller, there was no such outcome. In the same state of Illinois where Massey was gunned down, a police officer responded to a domestic dispute involving a knife-wielding man. No shit, it was. That kid was so, okay. I don't know if when I covered this, I knew that it was, I don't know if at the time that it was actually her nephew or not, but I'm positive that I covered this because I remember watching the footage And the dad goes around a corner, picks up the kid, comes back a split second later, and the cop just instantly reacts. Manages to shoot both the child and the father. Yeah. Involved a knife-wielding man by shooting a 4-year-old who was being used as human shield in order to kill the only person who arguably deserved to die on that day. Anthony T. George, 57. George, who also died that night, had apparently stabbed Terrell's mother 36 times. On Tuesday, the Illinois State Attorney's Appellate Prosecutor determined that the officer will not face charges for killing the child in order to get to his knife-wielding captor. According to WQAD 8, Special Prosecutor Jonathan H. Bernard wrote in a letter to McDonough County State's Attorney's Office, Matthew Qualaka, that after reviewing police reports, audio and video of the incident and trading records, his office found no basis, not even voluntary manslaughter, for any criminal action against the unnamed officer who seemingly with ease killed the 4-year-old who was being held at gunpoint by George. Now, this is a very freaking one-sided view of this, because I will be perfectly honest, having reviewed that footage myself, it's a knee-jerk reaction. I do not believe that the officer had time to even consider that the child was there. There was a knife, there was a gentleman coming around a corner at very close range. It may be one of the few times when I would agree with, say, Bronca and say that this was a justified shoot. The fact that the 4-year-old was in between him and the assailant is horrifying, but I do not believe that the officer necessarily even had the chance to even register that the kid was being held. Now, I cannot show that footage on YouTube because it is horrifying. But I would recommend that anybody that is curious about that or that wants to debate me on that, feel free to go and watch the footage yourself. Okay? Since you didn't get a notification, I'm not shocked by that. Hey, King Bob. Back on Saturday, March 16th at around 10 p.m., the Macomb Police Department responded to an apartment of the 900 block of Charles Street for an active domestic violence incident. According to a March 17 press release, police noticed blood on the common area of the complex and forcibly entered the unit after hearing screams. After reviewing body camera footage, evidence, and witness and interviews and autopsy reports, IPS findings said police encountered the suspect holding a knife before he ducked out of the officer's view and emerged holding a 4-year-old as a human shield. Police say the suspect was holding a knife around the child's throat and another around his waist. Based upon the interview, I find that there is no basis for any criminal action or prosecution that is supportable under the facts of this case against any of the officers involved in the tragic incident, Bernard said in his letter to the prosecutor dated July 8. No, the YouTube gods do not like it. My thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the deceased and all those affected by this heartbreaking event. No, we're going to need more than a vague contemplation of how the officer did nothing wrong and a generic thoughts and prayers statement for the family of the that lost their child. Too many unanswered questions here. Well, I mean, it depends whether or not you've watched the footage or not. I mean, I can understand someone wanting to drum up, for lack of a better term, drama over it, but my personal opinion is that that is a horrifying situation that nobody should have been in. And yes, it is tragic that the boy died. I don't necessarily think that the officer was in error, though. I mean, he would certainly carry that one for the rest of his life. See if I can find a version of it that... I know the footage that I had. But with... Got it. Looks like they've... Again, trigger warning, as you can see on the damn screen there. Video contains scenes that some viewers may find distressing.
A distressed female subject could be heard yelling, "He's stabbing me." Officers.
Okay, so that's him there. That's the guy that was doing the stabbing and whatnot. That's the woman that's allegedly been stabbed 36 times. I mean, I say allegedly, but... There. Looking at her. He's on this side. And then when he crosses across here and then comes back is when he's got the kid. It's literally in the space of 6 seconds.
Eyes Outdoors says, welcome to Legal Intern.
Hey, congratulations, we have a new member. Hot dog, we have a wiener. Thank you for joining the crew. Welcome. Much appreciated. There or not? No, I don't believe. I think they may have actually cut it off. Oh, that's a shame. Well, I mean, it's not a shame, but you know what I mean. It's literally the cops come in, and then within the space of 9 through 21, the cops had to make decisions within like 13, 14 seconds. And the fact that he just goes from there and literally, I presume at this stage, the kid's already standing about here because he literally walks across, gets out of the line of fire, walks back in. As he's walking around the corner, you can see the knife at about waist high. And I can fully understand why the officer would not have recognized that he was holding a kid in the space of time. It's horrifying. Hey, Bernice, thank you very much. Hope I'm feeling better. Look, I am for the most part. I was able to eat solid food today, which was massive bonus. So, hello, Serenity. Of course, we've got people protesting. And I do want to say, obviously, I'm not taking away from the fact that a 4-year-old innocent boy was shot. I just want to make that absolutely. I'm just saying, this may be one of the few instances where I say let's not lynch the cop because he didn't necessarily. This is why reasonable people are terrified of police. It's not fun stuff. No, exactly. And there's a reason why I have to cover so much ACAB stuff. Because even when it may be justifiable or it may be, in this instance, what I would believe is probably closer to just shy of a tragic accident, because I don't genuinely believe that there is an accident where firearms are involved, just like I don't believe that there is ever such thing as an accident where a motor vehicle is involved. So it's one of those instances where ultimately the guilty person is dead. And I think that in this instance, he unfortunately took a innocent life with him. But I do think that he is ultimately. Now, someone was asking me to look at this case, the Kevin Sehmer tattoo punch murder trial. I was looking at whether or not I should go back and actually watch it, given that it's like, the trial itself's only like 3 or 4 days behind. Wait, no, it could be more than that. Might be closer. They'd be getting close to. You found the uncut body cam? Yeah, send it through to me, Stinch. Oh, I stand corrected. They had closing arguments on day 3. You know what? How long are the opening statements and how long are the closing statements? 44 minutes. State's rebuttal. 5 minutes.
And in Wisconsin, our newest live trial is under.
You know what? I might even just see if we can do the opening statements. All right, let me have a quick look at that, though. Thank you for sending that through so quick, Steve. Appreciate it. Oh, how was your day yesterday? Given that I didn't stream, did you have any issues? Did you have a bad day? I was thinking about you.
Screams for help. Screams for help. A distressed female subject could be heard yelling, "Home to safety." What of seconds. Clarity and detail. Notice during the confrontation, suspect's left hand. We'll highlight the weapons when present. as they're only visible for a short time during the incident.
Okay. I'm comfortable.
And the suspect's left
Open.
screams for help. A distressed female subject could be heard yelling, "He's stabbing me." Officers force entry into the apartment.
Okay, admittedly, the fact that she yells "my son's in there" is not a great thing. There. That's him jumping across the hallway within, what, 17 seconds. He's got the kid.
A Macomb police officer discharged a single bullet.
That's where the guy pops out, knife's clearly visible, and the officer fires. I genuinely do not believe he would have had a chance to even recognize that he was holding the kid. That's my own personal opinion. You can love me or hate me for it, but it's a short amount of time. Oh, damn it, it's doing that thing again. Hang on, sorry. One of these days I'm going to remember to fix that setting before I go live. Why it does it? It drops my microphone down to 75%. I've got no idea why. Something keeps taking exclusive control over it, and I've tried like multiple times to try and undo it. Replay this. Wait, what was that say? Additional details. Oh, okay.
When officers arrived on the scene, note the presence of blood on the walls of the stairwell.
Call police, open the door.
After identifying themselves and ordering occupants to open the door, a female subject could be heard yelling, "He's stabbing me." Officers then forced their way into the apartment after identifying themselves. The officer points their issued firearm at the naked adult male, identifies himself as police, and issues lawful commands to see the suspect's hands. The officer orders the female with injuries out of the home to safety. What happens next transpires in a matter of seconds, so we'll slow and stop the video occasionally for additional clarity and detail. Notice during the confrontation we can observe a knife in the suspect's left hand. We'll highlight the weapons when present, as they're only visible.
That's extraordinarily helpful for them to do that. Did you hear the UK Labour Party's done the miraculous? They've united both the Republic of Ireland and the Northern of Ireland in solidarity to support the British native population against the Labour Party. I saw that! Watching the Protestants and the Catholics, like, marching down the street together against it. I think that's... I'm wondering if maybe it's part of the plan. I don't know. Like, that was... You know shit's gotta be turning bad. Like...
For a short time during the incident. The suspect then lunges out of sight and a child is heard screaming. The suspect eventually reappears with a knife in each hand, holding the child to his chest, one knife around the child's waist and one around the child's throat. It should be noted this adult male is identified as the suspect. A Macomb officer discharged a single bullet. The threat ended. Officers began rendering aid and called for medical personnel. Both the child and the suspect were pronounced deceased at the scene.
No, still alive, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's a hero. I mean, I think it's a horrible circumstance. I just don't believe that he should be charged with murder. So... Oh, right, the tattoo punch. I wanted to see the opening statements. No, that's the closing argument. They cover this on more? Oh, excuse me. Fuck, they did. Alright, might have to use this one. And at least it's...
Result, Josh Davies died. Let's take a listen.
This is a one-charge felony murder. And as the court just told you, I must prove those charges to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And just essentially what that all means is that this defendant, Kevin Sehmer, committed the crime of aggravated battery against the victim, in this case, Josh Davies. Simply meaning
Oh dear.
he caused great bodily harm to Josh Davies. And as a result of that aggravated battery, as a result of causing him great bodily harm, Josh Davies died. That's essentially what this case is about. And it's really about what happened to Josh Davies that night. And the state believes that the evidence will show that the second Kevin Sehmer, this defendant, saw Josh Davies, he had it out for him. Kevin Sehmer was aggressive, both verbally and physically, for the very short time that Josh and Kevin were in contact with each other this night. And we believe that the evidence will show that this defendant punches Josh in the head, causing Josh to drop to the ground, hit his head on the concrete again, which ultimately led to Josh's death. Josh Davies was surrounded by two different people: his wife, Jen Davies, who will testify, and his friend, Brian Richardson, who will also testify. Jen, Laura, Josh, and Brian, those four, decide to go to Tabby's Wine Bar. And Tabby's Wine Bar actually has video surveillance and
Oh, damn it.
they end up meeting at the end of the bar with
Thank you.
Kevin. So now it's these five together in Tabby's Wine Bar. What you'll also see in that video and what you'll hear from the witnesses is that almost immediately, this defendant sees Josh and starts making comments about Josh and his tattoos, marking up God's work. And Jen and Brian, they'll tell you, and Laura will tell you, they've never met Kevin before. They don't know why he's going in on Josh and tattoos. And they'll kind of tell you they thought maybe Kevin was just joking. They didn't think much of it. And you'll see after this initial interaction on that Tabby's Wine video between Josh and Kevin, Josh separates himself. Josh goes to a different side, separates himself from Kevin. Kevin continues.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Who had the over-under? What are we? We 34 minutes in. How'd we do with the poll? 10% of you got it right.
To be aggressive with Josh. You'll hear on the Tabby's Wine video him say F you to Josh. Go out there and practice falling down, saying that to Josh. And I want you to listen to Kevin's tone, Mr. Sehmer's tone when he does that. It's not a joking tone. You'll see his demeanor. You'll see him be aggressive with pointing. You'll see this on the video. And even during this second interaction between Josh
I wish I knew
and
why,
Mr.
honestly.
Sehmer,
She does lay
you'll
in
then
it.
see Kevin walk over to Josh, get in Josh's face, say, "Shut your effing mouth," pointing in Josh's face. Josh stands there. Josh doesn't, you're not gonna see Josh make any aggressive moves toward Kevin in this Tabby's Wine video. Now, after Mr. Sehmer gets in Josh's face that second time, you'll see on the video, you're gonna hear from Jen Davies, hear from Brian, hear from Laura, that basically Jen kind of has Josh and Brian leave the bar. It's towards the end of the night anyway. She kind of has them go outside. So yet again, you'll see Josh separate himself from Mr. Sehmer. Now, on the video, you'll see Jen and Laura, they're gonna remain inside with Mr. Sehmer for a little bit. And eventually, you'll see Josh Davies on this Tabby's Wine video again. standing at the door. Doesn't go past the front door, doesn't come back into the bar necessarily. And he makes a comment to his wife, Jen, are you still talking to that a-hole? And this is when this whole incident really starts to happen. Like I said, in this video, you're not gonna see Josh go beyond that front door. You're not gonna see Josh come at Mr. Sehmer. You're not gonna see that. You're gonna see Kevin rush out directly towards Josh from the wine bar. You're gonna hear from Jen and Laura. You're gonna see on the video that Kevin pushes past Jen and Laura to try to get to Josh. You'll even see Laura try to grab Mr. Sehmer's shirt to keep him back from going outside. You'll see Jen standing at the door, that front door to Tabby's wine bar, to try to keep the two separated. And once Kevin goes outside, everything happens very quickly. There's some things that the evidence won't show because there's certain things that the state doesn't have to prove. And one of the biggest things is exactly why Mr. Sehmer did this to Mr. Davies. The state doesn't have to prove why Mr. Sehmer committed this crime against Josh. Doesn't have to prove what his motive was. We just have to prove that he committed an aggravated battery against Josh Davies, and that led to Josh Davies' death. Why Kevin got so mad at Josh from the beginning, that might not be an answer that we have. But I also want you to remember, that's not necessary to finding out if the defendant committed this aggravated battery, which resulted in Josh's death. What the state believes that this evidence will show through the witnesses, through the videos that you're gonna see, is that this defendant violently attacked Josh Davies that night, hit Josh, causing Josh to drop to the ground, hit his head on the concrete, and ultimately led to his death.
That state
gonna say that's
paints
not me.
the picture of the defendant as a bully, resulting in the state alleges the murder.
Is about somebody trying to hit my client with a stool. And my client stopping this person from doing so by stopping the momentum of the stool as it came rushing towards him as a result of Mr. Davies' actions. Now, it is true that my client and Mr. Davies got into a stupid argument that was mostly, quite frankly, my client's fault. I mean, it was stupid. At some point,
Damn. He knows how heavily the evidence is going to weigh against his client, that he's already out front trying to rehabilitate his client during opening statements. Ooh. Stop this tool 2024. Okay. Interesting. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, you kind of assume here in Australia we're known for, well, being a country of drunks, or we used to. Prior to becoming the great multicultural nation that we are, we were the swag men with the hats with the little wine corks floating on our brims of our hats and all that sort of stuff, and we were known for holding our liquor. To the point where it became necessary to introduce laws in pretty much every state and territory called one-punch laws, where if you're in a drunken altercation, even if you hit somebody once, and that injury results in the death of somebody, for example, so say if you're outside a pub, I was going to say pub, then bar, and somehow my brain just decided to go, nope, we're not saying either. And saying crikey, that is true too. Oh, crikey, look at that one-punch law getting enforced. But the classic example, and the reason that it came in, was that there was an individual that was punched in the face during a drunken altercation. The punch didn't kill him, but what happened was he fell backwards and onto a sidewalk. Well, a gutter, actually. And it actually snapped his neck, I believe, and caused all sorts of issues. And ultimately, he was dead before the paramedics arrive, I believe. They're not enforced depending on certain factors. Fair enough. Foster's, Mick Dundee, Shrimp on the Barbie. Fake country, flat earth. Well, I mean, look, I don't know where on earth you get the whole, like, shrimp on the Barbie thing here, because I prefer to cook it with a little bit of butter, but reminds me. That got your attention. But no, I think this is the fact that he's already getting out in front of it. He knows how how screwed his client is, but he's going to have to try and make the delineation between this was self-defense as opposed to this is a fight that they got into. Yeah, the fact that we had to bring in glassing rules themselves is a little bit of a thing too. Friend Summers made an example of the one punch law over convicted of protecting a female. Oh, no shit.
Point, my client goes and pokes his finger at him, calls him a name, and at some point, his wife, Jen Davies,
whether they are or aren't, it's still a
suggests
cockroach
and
I'm willing to eat.
tells Josh and his friend to leave. Not suggesting that she did that because she was thinking that her husband had done anything wrong. She just thought, you know, let's separate us. But this argument ended then, okay? That it was over. What you're gonna see is that not only was it over, but my client was actually talking with Mrs. Davies and with Laura Burke, and they were having a very friendly, quite frankly, discussion. Such though that at some point my client appears to be kind of hugging both Ms. Burke and Ms. Davies. On the
Just a
left
joke,
is Ms.
Boosh.
Davies.
Don't take the fun out of
On
it.
the right is Ms. Burke, the two women that my client, and my client's the big guy behind them, and he's talking to those two. Okay?
Oh, hang on. Screw you, Court TV. Why would you not zoom in on that rather than having all your crap around the edges? Alright, now I'm going to have to look closely. Hang on. I'm probably not even going to be in screen. Okay, so they're all... Oh yeah, there's video.
We just saw in that upper left corner, that was Mr. Davies. He came back in. This, we...
Yeah, okay. So fine. Dead guy comes back in.
We just saw
Fat and baldy walks across. What's your point?
in that upper left corner, that was Mr. Davies. He came back in. This argument was over. In fact, you just saw, and the evidence will show, that my client was kind of hugging Ms. Davies and Ms. Burke. And Josh came in and yelled some profanities because he appears to be angry that his wife is still talking to Mr. Sehmer. That's Mr. Davies. Backing up, okay? And it probably would have been a little harder, but you could have also been able to see Mr. Sehmer, a larger person with a white light shirt. Go ahead. Now look, stop. Did you see? Obviously it happened kind of fast, I won't back it up. But what you saw, and when you see it again,
No, I couldn't say shit out of that.
various configurations by the use of law enforcement and the state crime lab and trying to make this, you're going to see one thing that's clear in every single one. That as my client and Mr. Sehmer are both moving from right to left, Mr. Davies launches himself at Mr. Sehmer. And remember, his wife has told law enforcement, and Ms. Burke told law enforcement, that he had a stool above his head to attack my client. The only violent act that was shown, that will ever be shown to you in any of the videos, is not my client going after Mr.
To answer your question, Bush, yes, if it's already evidence been stipulated by both parties that it will be entered, they can just enter it. And you got to remember, opening statements are effectively like free throws. There is no defense on them. It's very rare that you're going to be objecting. But I dare say that the video footage has been stipulated too, because both parties are going to be using it. Is that the guy from Porn Stars? I don't think so. Porn Stars, it's Australian. Smartass.
Davies, but Mr. Davies lunging with a chair in his hand at my client. And
I don't know what I think about the PowerPoint presentation, though.
So this person who tried to attack somebody may have fallen over a stool and was also very, very drunk, fell to the ground, not because of a battery, but because he tried to attack my client. And my client may have been acting like a jerk, but you can't attack a person with a stool. My client, as does every person, has a right to defend themselves from an unlawful interference. Sometimes that might be kind of vague in terms of, well, what interference are we talking about? That's not really a circumstance that we have to concern ourselves too much here. Because the interference is, you don't get to hit me with a stool, a metal stool, by the way. You don't get to do that. I don't have to take it in the face because I said I was mean to you earlier in the night.
Yeah, I can see that.
You have a right to prevent that. And you have a right to put up your hand and stop yourself from being struck. Not only does the state have to establish that there was this battery, but that my client didn't do so, exercising his right of lawful self-defense. In other words, they have to prove that he didn't have the right to do that beyond a reasonable doubt, and we don't get, and you don't get to when you're examining the evidence.
Those cases that
Think,
Sehmer never
well,
actually
how would
hit.
I have
From the sound of
reacted
it.
today? No, it's at the time of the event, that's when you look. Was he acting reasonably in stopping this person from hitting him with a stool?
Oh, sorry, yeah,
I
Sehmer
would
hit
say
first.
at any time anybody can do that, but the government has to disprove this.
The defense really leaning into that video and saying, sure, our client pokes his finger, calls it.
I really don't care about your commentary on it, if I'm perfectly honest. Also, don't care about them giving that kind of crap either. Where was the... That's the defense's closing argument. State's rebuttal. I can't believe it only lasted for 3 days. Oh, okay. I love that they make it all nice and easy for this. Might actually just be able to watch the entire trial just very quickly and briefly. Closing arguments. I'll move that across there. The video inside the bar. Okay. Well, that's helpful. Bring the volume up. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Who is in charge of the court stuff? Not only did they literally bring this up, so it's going to block the main area, which is the top left-hand corner that the defense is saying. That's when the guy walked in, but you've got all this crap that is just unnecessary from court TV as well. It's so freaking frustrating. Oh, excuse me.
I apologize, it's paused at 20 seconds. And we're starting exhibit 16 at 20 seconds again.
Honestly, that boomerang was almost as bad as mine. Oh yeah, this is Wisconsin. Well, I mean, if I get a copyright strike for it, at least I can remove the audio. People make me kick my butt. Alright, I'll just mute it then. Have I been paying attention to what's happening in the UK? Vaguely. Oh, hang on. Here we go. No, never mind. I mean, obviously, for me, what I'm seeing coming out of the UK is conflicting arguments over various things. So until I've actually properly investigated it myself, I'm not relying on any first-hand... sorry, not relying on any mainstream media accounts of what's going on. I understand that the country's on fire. I understand that a lot of people that have good reason for it. I just don't specifically know what the reasons are or what kicked off everything. I mean, I understand that some girls were killed. I understand that there was a boy that did it, and there's allegations over whether or not he was a second-generation migrant or if there was, like, religious undertones or to it or whatever else. A lot of people are saying a lot of things. So basically, I'm vaguely aware of it, but I'm not paying a huge amount of attention to it at the moment. Freaking chum from porn stars. They do actually look a little bit like that, don't they? I mean, I know that they have to, but it's annoying when they have to play the entire thing. He's already an asshole, big guy standing directly in the walkway. My God, what do they do? Just put it on repeat? They've got to play the entire video for the rule of completeness with the court. You can't alter or show snippets, but at the same time, what are they showing here that's of any relevance? Okay, here we go. Oh look, they were kind enough to full screen it for us. Evening, Glennis. I've been better than this. Okay, so they've cut the audio. Big dude's pointing. Guy that's gonna die looks relatively... Oh! Getting all in his face? Why'd they cut the audio for that? That's just an asshole trying to get in somebody's face. Oh, fuck that still life. People can cuss all they like. I don't think that's in the guidelines. Yeah, Jason, so was my country. This, to me, looks like a big guy that was trying to throw his weight around. And I'm sorry, but at this point in time, even if the guy comes at him with a stool, I'm not thinking that there was too... like... there was much to it.
All right, let's bring back in our guest. Still with us, of course.
Is that really it?
So I
They
think
didn't
that
actually
might-
even show that. God damn it. Friend takes the stand. Wife takes the stand. States a rebuttal. Closing argument. Okay, so basically we've got the friend and we've got the wife providing evidence. No, they did not show the assault boosh, which I'm a little bit disappointed by, if I'm honest. Alright, so this is dead guy's wife taking the stand.
And said, where did you get that wine? I said, over at Tabby's, because, you know, she was aware they weren't serving wine at the festival either. And she said, oh, that looks good. And I said, well, come on, let's go get one. So we walked back over to Tabby's.
And who all walked over to Tabby's?
Jen and I walked together first, and we were visiting and talking.
Oh,
And
crap, there's
Josh
alcohol, wine,
his
and a
friend
gin.
were a few feet behind us.
Sure we're in Wisconsin?
And how did you go in the front door of Tabby's?
The back door.
Uh-oh.
And once you walked into Tabby's now the second
Oh,
time,
shit, it's the victim's friend.
did you
God
see
damn it.
anybody in the bar that you knew?
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw Kevin.
Okay. And where was Kevin?
He was towards what I describe as towards the front of the bar. There's some
I know, not the back door.
round tables towards the front area, and he was standing there by himself.
And did you go over by Kevin?
Yeah, I think we waved coming in the back door, and you know, hey, and that type of thing.
Okay. And who else went over by Kevin?
Well, Jen and I were together, and I think Josh and his friend were just sort of following us.
So did you all five of you come together in the same general area at
Yes.
Tabby's?
Yes.
And what was the initial interaction with Kevin and you,
27
Jen,
days in
Josh,
intensive
and
care.
Brian?
I think I did some just introductions, you know, because Kevin knew from earlier that evening when I first met him that I was looking for my friends, and I had actually described my friends, like, have you seen my friends, and described their appearance. So I said, oh, here they are. This is my friends that I was telling you about earlier in the night.
Okay. So everybody introduced themselves then? That's a yes?
Yes.
And what happened next?
And in Wisconsin.
Jen and I were talking, and it seemed very quickly on that the guys were kind of standing all together, and Jen and I were nearby, and I just started hearing kind of some bad language and name calling, and some talk about tattoos, and it caught our attention.
Who was saying the bad language?
Kevin.
Did you hear Josh or Brian say any bad language during this initial interaction?
I did not.
And you mentioned you heard something about tattoos. Who said that?
I really don't know. I really didn't follow the voice of who said. We just heard something about tattoos, and the tone was aggravated.
Okay, so for anyone coming in late, so specifically for AP, basically this is the tattoo punch murder trial that was over in 3 days. So we're just quickly whipping through it. We've got this woman who was a victim's friend. We've got testimony from the wife. I did just pull up a video that's like 49 minutes, but it is apparently Court TV's overview of all of the evidence that's important throughout that. And given we can skip over their, like, commentary and that sort of thing, I think we can probably run through that and it'll, get through most of it anyway. But, basically, two guys at a bar, both technically drunk. One's a big guy that may or may not resemble a certain Albert. And allegedly, he punched the guy. Guy goes down, hits his head on the sidewalk, spends 27 days in intensive care, ultimately dies from the head injury. This is the trial to see whether or not the one-punch laws will apply to this alleged murder. Tattoos. The accent's rough.
And so whose tone was aggravated?
I don't know that I identified the voice at that time.
How drunk
I
were
just
you?
remember how I reacted to it.
How did you react?
I tried to kind of calm down the atmosphere and and so I knew that Jen had a tattoo, and I said, here, let me see your tattoo. I was trying to just
Yes,
change
that's
the
fair.
direction of what I was hearing in the background of this aggravated tone.
Oh shit, the audio's gone again. Audio input capture, add existing, secondary. There we go. Probably not the smartest thing to be doing. In short, Bernice, who killed and why? Big burly guy that apparently showed no remorse whatsoever. Allegedly hit small guy with hair and hat, and apparently it was an argument over the fact that he had tattoos because big burly guy did not like the fact that scrawny guy had tattoos. Codename Big Drunk. Yeah, that works too. So she wanted him out of the back door. Oh, what the fuck? What do you mean there's no sound? God damn it. I just added it. Why did it disappear?
And you, prior to you
Fuck's
kind of
sake.
thinking, okay, I'm gonna have Kevin go back by his friends.
I think there was some chit chat, small talk. Again, just trying to diffuse the situation that, when I heard the voices, it was, the word that caught my attention was Kevin was calling, I guess, I didn't know who it was directed to, but he was talking to Josh.
That's not me. Audio's gone. That's not me.
It's coming from, so.
I presume that they were covering over somebody to protect their identity or whatever. That was not me. Audio was completely gone.
I was just trying, I wanted to.
All right, so she clearly did.
Oh, piss off.
You kind of wanted to get Kevin back towards his friends, so how were you doing that?
He had a drink that was sitting on the table, and I kept picking up his drink and kind of like pulling him towards where the back door would have been to kind of like get him to come with me. And I'm sure my words followed that same, line of thought.
The drink, was that an alcoholic drink to your knowledge?
It looked like the other drinks he had been drinking that night, like a sea breeze. It was a pink drink in a big glass.
No comment.
And as you tried to walk Kevin away, where were Jen, Josh, and then Josh's friend?
Still in the area where we were standing, where we had been standing in sort of that front portion of Tabby's by the circle tables.
Okay. During this time, did you see Josh did you ever observe Josh go back and try to get in Kevin's face during this time?
No.
Did you ever see Kevin, while you're in Tabby's, get in Josh's face?
I don't think it was something that I noticed at the time, but I since have seen it on the video.
Okay. And you say you're kind of asking Kevin to go back towards his friends. Did he do that?
I don't think I asked him to. I was just trying to get him there. That's in my mind. I was like, he needs to join his friends. I kind of went into my mother mode and was trying to diffuse the situation and remove him.
Oh, sweetheart, we know you're a dollar store cougar, but come on.
The friends that I was there with.
And I apologize.
Okay.
Did he ever do that? Go back by his friends at this point?
No.
So what happens after that?
I just tried several times to do that, and then I think it was all still brewing, like this hostile attitude, and I know Jen and I kept looking at each other like, what in the world is happening? It was just this explosion that happened, and we were like, where did this come from? It was very unusual behavior for, you know, what I've ever encountered. And
let me stop you. When you say this hostile behavior, who are you talking about?
Kevin had this very aggressive, hostile attitude that was unprovoked, in my view of what was happening.
So you and Jen are kind of looking at each other. Do Josh and Brian ever leave?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
They walked out the front door, and I think it was like, you know, like where we were going to go next, like were they going to go home? You know, it was just kind of that. Okay, we were going to continue the evening, and they went out the front door, and I was trying to get Kevin out the back door.
And after Josh and Brian left, who was still in the bar together?
Jen and I were standing there, and Kevin was there in that area too, right where we were standing.
So what happened with you three in the bar at this point?
From what I recall, Jen and I were just in, like, what just happened? We were looking at each other like, oh my goodness. And then she was gonna go with Josh and his friend, and I was going to get Kevin over to rejoin his friends out the back door. So like going in two separate directions. And then I felt, in my mind, that was diffusing this situation that was brewing.
But for a time period where you, Jen, and Kevin standing in the bar together talking?
Yes, but it was really Jen and I, and he was there too. So it wasn't just general chit chat. It was.
Let's stop. Let's get a question and an answer.
Oh,
We're going on with narrative here. It's elongated. It's redundant. Let's move.
So, do you recall Josh or Brian ever coming back into Tabby's?
Yes.
How did that happen?
I just saw Josh stick his head in the door, and it was like a, come on, Jen. Like they had been waiting for Jen outside the door, and we were seemingly unaware because we hadn't really communicated that.
And did Kevin react to that at all?
Yes.
What happened?
He lunged to the door.
Did you do anything to try to stop Kevin?
I grabbed his shirt tail.
Did that do anything?
No.
Okay. And did Kevin go outside then?
Yes.
No.
All right, so Laura Berg.
Well, that's not really helping the defense there. That's very clearly showing that the dude was aggressive as hell on the night and really didn't want anyone talking with. If I'm honest, it sounds like he was trying to say that, I don't know, maybe he was into the wife. I don't know. But I don't think that's really helping them all too much. What I'm going to do is, rather than switching back to the wife, I'm going to switch across to this other video that they did up, which is basically an evidence recap from the murder trial. We can skip over the friend's testimony, which is good, but they've also got a eyewitness detail, the eyewitness that details the argument, and a police interview in it as well. So I think that's probably going to be more in line with things. Let's jump ahead to Oh, you know what? I can just play that for this.
We are following the tattoo punch murder trial for Kevin Sehmer. He's accused of punching and killing Josh Davies because he didn't like the look of his tattoos. The defense claims the victim attacked Sehmer with a stool outside that wine bar where this took place.
Which they
While
can't
we wait for
really
court to
show from
resume
the
in
video.
Massachusetts. Let's begin in Wisconsin for the trial of Kevin Sehmer. Victim's wife, Jennifer, took her husband as they were followed by Sehmer outside that wine bar, and her husband tried to
walked out.
There we go.
It happened so fast, and he just ran out, and when I screamed, it was because he had punched Josh, because I was standing right next to Josh.
And I'm going to get to that part, but we also saw towards the end of this video, you come back in. Did you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall what you said or why you came back in?
I came back in and said, the owner just punched my husband.
Now, I previously asked you if you tried to stop Kevin from going outside. In the video, does that-
Wait. Did she just say that Kevin's the owner of the place and that he was drunk and wait, what? Oh, that's not going to go well for him.
refresh your recollection at all if you tried to stop him?
Yes.
So did you try to stop him?
Yes.
And how did you try to do that?
I tried to get in, and stay in front of him and not let him out.
Ms. Davies, how tall are you?
5'2".
Hitting the
I'm not
pavement.
going to ask how much you weigh, but do you weigh less than
Yes.
275 pounds?
Do you weigh less than yes?
Yes.
Can you tell me what did you observe happen after Kevin goes outside?
I watched as Kevin charged towards Josh. Josh picked up a stool and chucked it at Kevin to defend himself.
Okay, so the argument is over who did what first, whether or not Kevin punched Josh or whether or not Josh threw the stool in self-defense. Interesting. I'm just going to re-listen to that just because I was not paying as much attention as I should have.
Charged towards Josh. Josh picked up a stool and chucked it at Kevin to defend himself.
What stool did he pick up?
A stool from Tabby's.
Okay, so the argument is whether or not Josh was acting in self-defense then, when a large guy who was clearly head and shoulders above him is drunk and charging at him and he picked up a stool and threw it at him to try and dissuade him. Can I get a stool sample? Stool sample. God, I hope not. Large, aggressive, drunk guy pursued someone who'd already assaulted twice. Sounds like Davies defended himself. I'm inclined to agree with you.
And you said that, and at that time when Josh picked up the stool, what was Kevin doing?
Charging at him.
Now, you said that you observed Kevin punch Josh, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us how Kevin punched Josh?
With his right hand.
Do you remember if it was a fist or an open hand?
A fist.
Where on Josh's body did Kevin hit Josh?
In the temple, like it is right here.
Ooh.
Do you know which temple of Josh's? Which side?
His left.
Oh yeah, he's throwing a right.
And after you observed Kevin punch Josh, what happened to Josh?
Just fell.
Fell to the ground.
Fell to the ground.
Did you see Josh hit his head again?
When he fell.
What did he hit it on?
The cement sidewalk.
Ma'am, that is the written statement you wrote at the hospital, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you indicate in there that
Okay, so now this is going to be on cross.
the man you knew as Kevin ran, then screaming at my husband about tattoos, is that right?
Yes.
And you said my husband defended himself and picked up a chair or stool to defend himself from the crazy person.
That
who
seems fair and
went
reasonable.
after him. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and then you finish by hearing Mr. Sehmer say, "I'm effing out of here." Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what you didn't say in that statement is that Mr. Sehmer punched your husband. Isn't that true?
Yes.
You didn't, ma'am, in that statement say that your husband threw a stool at him.
Holy shit, that's really
Correct.
the argument you're going to make there?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yes, ma'am. You didn't in your statement say that your husband threw a stool at him, correct?
I said he picked up a chair or stool to defend himself.
I understand, but you don't say that he, being your husband, threw the stool at my client.
No. I was very rattled.
I was going to say, to be fair, this is a
Let's get a question.
Just keep in mind as well, people, obviously, as I say, every defendant needs to be provided with every benefit of the doubt. So it's fair and reasonable that there are various things here that it would hinge upon as to whether or not either party was acting in defense or was the aggressor. Based on the video footage so far, I'm willing to believe that the defendant was the aggressor. But, I mean, in that split second, if the deceased decided it'd be a good idea to pick up and throw a stool at him, like, kind of goes from, is it reasonable, is it not, is it... Anyway, I'll be interested to see the police interrogation.
But you also were asked to provide a statement while you were in the hospital, rattled, to explain what you saw that evening. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And since, according to your testimony, your husband hit his head on the cement as a result of being punched, can you explain to this jury why you didn't think that fact was something that you thought necessary to put into your statement?
To be honest, I had
It's
no
actually the argument
idea
he's going with.
it was this serious. I had never written a statement before. I didn't realize that I had to be that specific. I could barely write. I was shaking. So I didn't know it was ever going to be needed. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Well, you knew your husband was in the hospital with
I had no idea the injuries.
Let me just finish, if I may, ma'am. You did realize that your husband was seriously injured, correct?
Honestly, no. I didn't know at the time that I thought he just got punched and he would just wake up.
Well, except that you weren't able to wake him up. Isn't that true, ma'am?
No.
Oh, for God's
No, it isn't
sake.
true?
No, I was not able to wake him up.
And he never was able to communicate, correct?
Correct.
You had good reason to believe that whatever injury he had was serious. Isn't that true?
I wish I would have. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that it was going to be this bad.
Okay.
I thought he was going to wake up and we were going to go home.
Did you believe that throwing the stool at Mr. Sehmer was the defense?
Objection.
Of what it was that Mr.
Objection,
Sehmer was
speculation.
doing?
He was trying to keep, my husband was trying to keep him away.
Also,
Well, he
not really the answer that you thought would
kept
help.
going the other direction, could he?
Like ran away?
Yeah.
He was drunk.
That's not what happened.
Also,
All right, to discuss, watching along with you.
it's Wisconsin. Is there a duty to retreat? I don't know. Objection, F that guy. Yeah, he's doing his job at damn. See, and that's how you know that even the lawyer knows how screwed the case is. Like I said, in the opening arguments, he was already trying to rehabilitate his client. That's saying something. After that, it's like, well, hang on. What are you... yeah, no. As bad as it sounds, it was a dick move in my opinion, but he's working with whatever he can because there is next to nothing. I don't think so as opposed to duty to retreat. Then no, screw it. He had every entitlement to defend himself.
At home, our guest for this hour from St. Paul, Minnesota, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Jack Wright.
This is Wisconsin. Why have they got a Minnesota attorney talking about it? Oh, no, because they're talking about something else. Davies did retreat. Okay, Bush, clearly you're invested in it, so I'll trust you on that, okay? The city didn't insist on having a sidewalk where your husband's head hit it. He smacked my client's elbow in the face, that lawyer. Care about this guy's discussion on it. Oh, so apparently that's all they had in terms of the wife's testimony. And then that was the friend that we just heard. Okay, another eyewitness. Oh, I don't want to talk about Guinness stool.
Not to me.
Do you recall who he was speaking to?
He was talking to Josh about tattoos.
What do you remember Kevin saying?
He said, do you know what they say about tattoos? You're going to hell for ruining God's work.
Was that early in the conversation?
That was right after Jen, his wife, introduced him as her husband.
Damn.
Those are the first words Kevin spoke.
The first words that I remember him saying were to Josh.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, but let's be fair. If a cop shooting someone on the basis of someone saying that they rebuke him in the name of Jesus is justifiable for someone to spill water and then bam, I can see how this would become a heated argument between two drunk blokes. Just saying.
What was Josh's reaction?
He was pissed
kind
off?
of joking around about it.
Oh, okay.
Saying how he wanted more, because I mean that was kind of his thing.
Okay.
About tattoos.
And to this point, have you said anything directly to Kevin Sehmer?
No, and I don't think I
Dude,
did
that
the
guy's
whole night.
beard.
And did you hear Josh saying anything further at that point?
Besides
I did
getting
see
more,
that, Peter. I thought that was
that's pretty
hilarious.
much the only thing I remember him saying.
Okay. When you and Josh get around on the other side of the girls and you're standing at the tables, were you and he talking?
He's gonna raise a bond
Yeah,
later.
I was talking to him, kind of saying we should just go outside.
Why did you say that?
Because he made a comment about just going outside.
Stupid question, because I've never considered it. Do the Amish have glasses, or is that considered too technologically advanced? I really have no idea.
And practice stumbling and just kind of seemed like it was getting to the point where I didn't want it to be.
And when Mr. Sehmer came out, what did you see next?
I was kind of towards his back, so I just saw him running towards Josh.
Did you see him do anything?
Yeah, I saw him punch Josh.
Prior to that, right when he came out the door, did you see him do anything?
No, I saw him running towards Josh.
Did you see a stool?
Outside there's stools. I don't remember ever seeing anybody with one.
Okay, no one.
I don't believe so.
And you remember seeing him make contact with the side of Josh's head?
Yes.
What happened next?
He fell to the ground and hit his head.
Do you have any sense of how much alcohol?
Do you have any sense of how bad that beard looks on you?
And by that I mean a beer, a drink, how many he had?
All night?
Yeah. From the time you were with him until the time you last saw him?
Not offhand. I couldn't tell you a number.
Pardon me?
I couldn't tell you a number, but I mean, he had a few.
Well, a few typically means 3 or 4. Are you talking about significantly more than that, sir?
Well, I mean, if he had 1 or 2 under disc golfing, and then if he had another, let's say 3 or 4 when we were out in
Reverse Muller.
4 hours later.
You party like at
Did
$16.99.
he, Josh, appear intoxicated by the time you went to Tabby's?
To me, no. he was still coherent and still walking around, still talking to people, just enjoying the night.
Life.
Okay, and you know him pretty well, so you would have been in a position to know whether he appeared to be intoxicated. Is that true?
Yes.
God damn.
And
When YouTube says they're going to be
you
balanced
didn't
with the ad
see,
inserts, it really doesn't seem like it.
For example, Josh picking up a stool over his head.
That I don't remember.
Well, would you have remembered?
If I would have seen it,
Really?
yes.
Okay. And instead, you didn't see either Josh holding a stool over his head or Josh throwing a stool or anything like that.
I did not.
And you've been his friend a long time.
Yes.
And this was obviously a sad event for you.
Yes.
Now, you have been convicted of a crime, correct?
Yes.
How is that
many times?
relevant?
3.
So, you didn't see Josh either throw a stool or raise a stool over his head, correct?
That I didn't see anything.
And you would have been able to see it based upon where you were, correct?
At the time that Kevin passed me, I was behind him, so I don't know what happened. You know, so I was going out to where the area was, but I wasn't out in front, so I didn't know if anybody had a stool. I didn't see one.
And again, because we've asked, I'm going to try to be done with this, but you have told us and are telling this jury that you were in a position to see what those two were doing at that point, correct?
Yes.
You must have, because you said you saw him get punched. Correct?
Yes, I was outside and I saw him get hit.
And you saw what Josh did moments before he got hit then, correct?
Yeah, he didn't do much. I mean, he was backing up and then he kind of like was just standing there and then he got hit.
Okay. All right. And you said you didn't see any stool moving or anything, but you saw a stool on the ground next to Josh.
There was a stool on the ground. I don't know how it got there. I don't remember if somebody threw it, if somebody used it. All I know is it was there.
But you didn't see anybody
I did not, and I don't know if that was when I was still on the back side of the wall.
No, I'm talking about when you were there, sir. I'm not asking when you couldn't see it. I'm saying when you were watching, did you see anything happen with that stool? Or any stool?
No, I didn't see anyone with a stool, but it could have happened when I was sitting down when Kevin came out of the door. I don't know if it was used at that point, but once I got up, I did not see it.
And you saw Mr. Sehmer leave, correct?
Yes.
And you saw him moving towards Josh?
Yes.
And you could see what they were doing?
But I saw his backside when he was moving towards Josh.
Well, I understand you saw his back, but you could see more than just his back, correct?
I mean, he's a bigger guy. I didn't
Well,
see...
he's not a balloon. I mean, he's a person, correct?
Yes.
And you've indicated you could see what happened.
I saw him go towards him, but I don't know if he had anything. I didn't see anything.
Couldn't get quite.
But you were able to see if
quite get
Josh had
armish, but I got
something.
close.
Yeah, he was facing me.
I think.
And you would see it if he had had a stool over his head?
Yes, I would.
Okay. All right.
Oh, seriously? You get right to the end of the thing and I get the hat right? Really? Still on the road. Was Amber Heard around? Good line of questioning with the defense. Trying to figure out, is he going off his written statement here? Yeah, I think so. Hear him from there. Where's the police in? Thinking a baseball cap that says lover. Oh. There's your lover right there, still alive.
Asking him what happened during the incident that
yeah,
left the
I know it was
victim, Joshua
Pilgrim. It was the closest I could get.
And we're just doing small talk and stuff. And then she one of the two girls, they introduced me to the two guys. Okay. And, so I don't have any idea what their names were. Yeah. And, but I could tell that they were pretty intoxicated. Okay. And
Oh, could you just?
Tattoos all over. Okay. Now, and all I did is make a comment. I said, we were talking about tattoos before, which we were. Okay. And because she was saying Tom's religious, and so is this Lori. Okay. So then I just said, yeah. A long time ago, somebody had said to me that if you get a tattoo, that you're marking up God's work, you know. Okay. And it's a sin. And I mentioned that to the guy, and he's like, you must be one of those Catholic boys. Okay. And I said, no, as a matter of fact, I'm Lutheran. And I said, but, and he was we instantly did not hit it off, if you will.
No shit, we can see that from the footage.
I got my drink. I think I had maybe one sip out of it, and that was it. I put it down, and then she introduced me again to the guys, and then her girlfriend. And then when I mentioned about the dads, he came over to me and he's like, yeah, look at these babies, you know. And he goes, I got one of my wife naked, and she's got her boobs. And he's like this, going like this and pushing them together. Okay. And I'm like, I didn't say a word. I just said, I'm thinking of myself, impressive. And then, again, you could tell there was tension between us and stuff. So when he called me a Catholic boy and stuff, that kind of didn't go over real big, but you know.
So were you upset by that comment that he made?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know.
And that justifies punching him in the face.
I was just yelling, you know. Maybe it was.
But allegedly, you weren't intoxicated enough to get into any altercation, but you were okay to determine that someone else was intoxicated. Also, who the fuck is unsubscribing during the middle of this stream? If you haven't already hit the button, hit the like button and subscribe, people. Just double check. I can almost guarantee that God doesn't give a shit about tattoos. Funny how people like him talk about God, then violate everything God teaches about in the Bible. No comment.
It wasn't appropriate, but I was just making a comment about tattoos and what I learned from years ago.
So when you said you were upset, then did you start yelling at him?
No, I just said I'm Lutheran, and that's when things got a little blurry because it was a little loud in there, and he was saying things, and I was saying things, and I'm like, you know, why don't you two get out of here? I said, why don't you go outside, practice falling down? Kind of kidding around.
Excuse me?
I'll be out there in a little bit, you know.
Okay, so you guys were all like talking?
Yeah, just talking, and you know, guys.
So both talking to each other?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said, why don't you just go down and fall down?
Yeah, just why don't you practice falling down? I'll be right out there, you know. And he had said something to me, you know, like, you know, you this and that, and I don't even really recall. Now I'm being honest with you, I don't really recall using any swear words or anything like that. But I was still in control. I knew what was, you know, going on.
But it's pretty clear from the video you weren't.
I had that feeling with him. I did not like him from the get-go. And
you know his name?
I have no idea. And so then his wife takes them and takes both of them because they're inebriated and takes them outside the thing to like cool down and whatnot.
Okay.
So then I'm sitting there talking to her about Tom and then, you know, her girlfriend and stuff. Just us two inside.
Because you're talking to Laura then?
Laura and this other, her girlfriend. And, you know, I'm like, I may have said, what's his problem or whatever.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden he comes back in the bar and says some more to me, to everybody real loud.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what he said, but it was directed towards me. And then I kind of lost my cool, and I say I lost my cool. I just, what did you say? The one friend, he tried to hit me with a stool first, and I don't know really what happened, but all I did was block it, and that was it. And I didn't touch him, I didn't say anything to him, nothing. Then the other guy, the husband,
That seems like a crock of shit to me.
really, and he winds up and he's gonna not, and I don't know what the hell.
Wait. So now he's saying in this interview that not one but two people came at him with stools. Yeah, because he's talking too much because he's trying to talk his way out of this. This is ridiculous. Yes, obviously it's shut the fuck up Friday. Yes, he's saying that he wound up as if like with a as if you're cocking back for a baseball swing. But what a dipshit.
What happened with me if I had like some almost it was like second car or something. I just held my hand there.
And then he yelled that it was MAGA country.
That with the stool in his hand, and I just pushed him away. He fell over onto the ground, and then I left. And I'm like, we're just doing it.
Okay. Dr. Papa, you were able to observe that entire clip? Yes. So at the end there, Mr. Sehmer says, I pushed him with that stool in his hand and I just pushed him away. Correct. Did you ask Mr. Sehmer if he ever punched Mr. Davies or him? Yes, several times. Okay. So there's just one other thing I want to clarify from this clip. At the beginning, Mr. Sehmer is talking about Tom. Yes. Who's Tom?
That is, I'm sorry, that is the friend that he came out to Heartland with.
And Tom Knopp?
Knopp.
K-N-O-P-P?
Correct.
And you spoke with him later?
Yes.
He also talked about Lori at the beginning. Do you know who he was referring to?
Yes, her name is Lori Jacobs.
Okay. It's a completely different person.
Correct.
Not Laura.
Why does that name ring a bell to me?
So you did ask him about hitting Josh.
Yes.
So now I'm going to ask to take that down, ask to not publish to the jury right now. I want to bring up Exhibit 25. Okay, and Detective Hoffa, do you see Exhibit 25 on your screen?
Detective Hoffa.
Okay, and this is another portion of your interview with Mr. Sehmer on June 18th, 2023 at the Heartland Police Department?
Yes.
And this appears to be a fair and accurate copy, again, of part of this interview?
Yes.
I would move Exhibit 25 into evidence and request to publish. I would also note this is a short 30 seconds.
Over objection, the court will grant the receipt into evidence, and you may publish.
But you it was open hand. I do remember that it was open hand, but I don't recall him, and I do not recall hitting him in the face whatsoever. I recall not hitting, but pushing the stool, period, into him, and then he fell over.
So you're saying you pushed the stool into the guy and then he went down?
Right.
Okay, did you go down at a pretty rapid rate?
Yeah, real easy.
Okay, and Detective Hoffa, you heard that clip, right?
I did.
And Mr. Sehmer is now saying he pushed the stool into the guy and the guy went down.
Yes.
At a pretty rapid rate.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask to take down publication to the jury. And I have one more clip, Your Honor. I'm going to bring up Exhibit 26 now. Detective Hoffa, do you see Exhibit 26 on your screen?
I do.
And again, is this a portion of your interview with Mr. Sehmer from June 18th, 2023 at the Heartland Police Department?
Yes.
fair and accurate copy of it as it looks on the screen right now?
Yes.
I would move Exhibit 26 into evidence and request to publish.
Over the same objection, the court will receive Exhibit 26. You may publish.
And to be clear, Detective Hoffa, about how long is this clip?
1 minute and 7 seconds.
Period. So I'm going like this, trying to, and I think he's going like this and trying to hit me, and he's doing, as he's doing that, I luckily got a good, with the open hand, I got a good grip of the, and I didn't grip it, but I mean, I got a good spot on the stool where I just, if you want to use the word violently, that's kind of unfair, but I would say, yes, I pushed him down with one open hand, and he immediately went down the ground, and I didn't say nothing to anybody else. I turned around and I walked away. That was it.
At that point, okay, so right now the only discrepancy is that you say you pushed the stool into him and pushed him down, and everyone else is saying you made contact with his face and he went down.
Yeah, no.
Either way, he went down by your force. Can we at least agree on that? He went down by your force.
Absolutely.
Okay? Onto the sidewalk, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Okay. And so Mr. Sehmer agreed with you when he said he was the one causing Josh to fall to the ground.
Yes.
Detective
That's
Hoffa,
not a great thing to admit to.
Just a couple quick questions for you. You stated that you ran, well, first of all, DOT records, do those indicate height and weight?
Yes.
And you indicated previously you ran that for Mr. Sehmer?
Yes.
And what was the height and weight for DOT?
I believe it says stated Mr. Sehmer was 6 foot 2 inches and 275 pounds.
Now, do you know Mr. Sehmer's date of birth?
I do not.
You know about how old he is?
He stated he was 63 at the time of my interview with him.
And with us this hour to discuss, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor.
And I'm not going to bother with that. So what we'll do is we'll head across to, because I'm acutely aware of the time, I'm just thinking that I might want to do... All right, that's the victim's wife taking the stand. We've already watched that. State's rebuttal. Defense's closing. Prosecution's closing argument. Trouble is that watching it on court TV, I can't speed things up. So here's the thing, peeps. Are you guys going to stick around for the hour or so that this is going to be going, or should I do this tomorrow? What's that? Tim Walls from Minnesota. Because there's, what, 20 minutes... There's 24 minutes of prosecutor's closing. I think there's actually like 40 minutes of defense, 44 minutes of defense, and then there's obviously, well, we've got the rebuttal and then the verdict. Not interested in Sarah Boone? Okay, all right.
Very much for your service in this trial.
Oh shit, look who it is!
A little bit quicker. Got it now?
Yeah, I think it's on. Tap it.
Testing, testing.
I can hear you, so that sort of tells me it's on. Go ahead.
Or I speak loudly, yes. So again.
Yeah, the rebuttal's
thank you
only like
very
5
much
minutes.
For your diligence in paying attention to this trial and the facts. I know the testimony wasn't always the easiest.
No, that would be the prosecutor that was involved in the Darrell Brooks case.
I'll be the first one to stand up here and tell you, we have 4 different people seeing 4 different
No worries,
things
King Bob.
at 4 different times, right? That's human life, right? We've all experienced this. This isn't a Hollywood movie script where they're gonna come in and perfectly match, because they're seeing different things, they're viewing things from different viewpoints, right? And let's not forget the violent attack that they had just witnessed and the trauma and the shock that their brains were undergoing at the time they're witnessing this and then trying to recall it. And of course, there's been some passage of time, it's been about a year. So all of that leads to this situation we have here where we have different versions of events. But the question is, are they credible? Did you believe these 4 people who came in and told you about what they remembered and how this played out to the best of their ability, right? And same with the videos.
Whoever's playing with the paper needs to
surely
stop.
wish we had a better quality video outside on the sidewalk, but we don't. So we presented to you the best that we have, and we presented a couple different versions that the crime lab was able to enhance. Whether you find those useful or not is entirely up to you to decide. But we're not relying on just one witness or one video, right? It's the whole entire series of events and the recollection of the witnesses. For you, ask you to piece together, can you clearly make a determination here as to what happened, okay? So I'm very grateful that you were patient and paid attention, because you're gonna have your work cut out for you. I'm not gonna stand here and say this is an easy case.
Nah.
It's an open and shut case, and you know, should you take you 10 minutes to deliberate? I would never say that. And certainly on a record like this, where you have a lot of different viewpoints and a lot of different information to consider. So I appreciate that you're willing to do that work, and we're grateful for your service here. I want to start out by just talking a little bit about the events that we have been discussing here for the last 2 days. And I'm going to start where we ended, actually, with our case, and that is the words of Kevin Sehmer, right? The question still remains why any of this happened. We still have never found an answer to that. No one was able to tell you why Mr. Sehmer was so upset about the choice of Josh Davies to tattoo his body. What difference does it make to Kevin Sehmer? We have no idea. But seemingly that was the underlying cause of this entire incident, is that immediately upon seeing Joshua Davies, he took exception to his appearance. He told Detective Hoffa in his interview that he didn't like him from the start. And I think that's readily apparent from the video inside Tabby's wine bar, that immediately upon meeting Josh, he's making derogatory comments to him. You're a sinner, you've marked up God's work, you're going to hell. That's not a friendly interaction between 2 people who have just met out on Saturday night trying to enjoy a really very common activity that we all participate in. Hey, it's summer, finally, it's June 17th, let's get outside, let's go to a band, let's have a couple beers, let's enjoy our friends, right? And to walk into that bar trying to meet up with Laura and meet Mr. Sehmer for the first time, what the heck happened? Well, he ran into Kevin Sehmer. That's what the heck happened to Josh. So Kevin Sehmer gives an interview to Detective Hoffa. I'm going to play a little clip of it for you. I'm not going to play the whole thing. This is, I'm sorry, could you turn on? So this clip that I'm going to play right now is from State's Exhibit 24.
Kind of lost my cool, and I say I lost my cool. I just, what did you say? And then I went outside. The girls tried to, say,
Yeah.
they're drunk, blah. And I'm like, well, and I swear to you on my dad's grave and on my kid's life, I went outside and his friend and this guy had stools in their hands, and
So yeah, he went outside and now he's alleging that there were 2 guys with stools standing out there. Also, sorry peeps, there's nothing I can do about the fact that there is no closed captions on this. Audio's up as high as it can go, unfortunately.
So the guy and his friend had stools?
yeah, they're up in the air like this, and I said, what did you say? And then now like, now you're gonna hit me with a stool. I'm not saying this, but I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get knocked in the neck, with a stool.
Okay.
And 2 stools. So, but so the one friend, he tried to hit me with a stool first, and I don't know really what happened, but all I did is block it, and that was it. And I didn't touch him. I didn't say anything to him, nothing. Then the other guy, the husband, he comes in, he winds up and he's gonna not, and I don't know what the hell happened with me, if I had some almost, it was like psychic power or something. I just held my hand there and I just pushed him with the stool in his hand, and I just pushed him away. He fell over onto the ground, and then I left.
So let's unpack that a little bit. There are multiple lies or falsehoods stated by Mr. Sehmer in that statement when he's being questioned by Detective Hoffa. It's not in this clip, but remember he started out by claiming both guys were drunk. They were pretty intoxicated, he said. Well, the record's quite clear. Brian Richardson had 1 beer the whole night. You can see Brian in the video. He is not impaired. He's not intoxicated. But Mr. Sehmer wants to make it seem that way because that's to his benefit, right? I got attacked by 2 drunk guys. So he embellishes, he lies, he misdirects, whatever word you want to use. He's not being truthful with Detective Hoffa. Then he says, I walk outside and both guys have a stool above their head. 2 stools. He doubles down on it. He goes back to that later. 2 stools I'm confronted with. That never happened, ladies and gentlemen. Not one witness, not one piece of videotape shows Brian Richardson with a stool in his hand ever. But he's got to say that, right? Because that makes it better for him. Well, I had no choice. I had to go after these guys. 2 of them came after me, and they both had stools. So he's got to make that up. Then he says, Brian tried to hit me. Brian never tried to hit Mr. Sehmer. Nobody saw that. That's nowhere in any video. Then he says, the husband, Josh, he came in and he really winds up. Those are his exact words. He really winds up. And I was able to just push him away. And he fell down and I left. Nobody, not one witness on that sidewalk saw Josh making a motion like this. Not one. It's not in the video anywhere. Now you could say, well, maybe it happened back closer to the Tabby's door and it's not on the video. John Laporte would have seen it. Brian Richardson would have seen it. Jen Davies would have seen it. His own wife came here, courageously told you those events that night. And she told you, yeah, I did see Josh with the stool and he had it up here. Never did she describe a swinging motion. Nobody did. It didn't happen.
Pretty much.
He's got to tell these stories so that it looks good for him. Well, I had no choice. I had to punch him or push him, as he would say. Nobody has Josh swinging a stool.
Good morning, everybody.
In fact, I'm going to play another excerpt for you. My desktop here. Okay, thank you. Video from Hometown Pharmacy. This is the original version, not anything changed by the crime lab. Close out the PowerPoint.
And the good news is I managed to find a copy of this from Fox 6, so when we switch over to the defense's closing arguments, I'll at least be able to speed it up and potentially have captions. Bloody hell, this was a quick trial, though. Day 1, prosecution and defense opening statements. Bar fight video discussed in court. Day 2, Davies' wife testified. There was a testimony from the two friends, and then surveillance video was presented. This is day 3, and if you look at the clock, it's only 9:45 in the morning, and they're already giving closing statements.
I just can't see it here. Okay. See, we do test these things, and I duplicate my screen now. All right. I apologize, folks.
Hopefully
So as I said, this is Exhibit 8. This is the original clip from Hometown Pharmacy, not enhanced in any way.
Right now we have a,
Yeah, when I start, it'll.
okay,
Thank
I was
you.
worried about the traffic call.
Thank you. I started it at the beginning. And I pause it at 12 seconds. Through the door of Hometown Pharmacy, you can now see Josh Davies standing there.
I can't see shit, I'll be honest.
I'm going to click it ahead 1 frame, 13 seconds. Watch his right arm as I click through these frames. His right arm is down at his side right here in this frame.
Be hoarders. I know. How the hell is that a pharmacy?
14 seconds. Still down by his side. 15 seconds. Still down by his side. Now he makes a step to the right with his feet.
Also, that's second by
And there
second, not
you
frame
can
by frame,
see
by the way.
At 15 seconds, a motion like this with his right arm from his hip area up, right? He is not doing this. He is not doing this. His arm is down near his waist at all times, right before the blow gets delivered by Kevin Sehmer. I'll continue playing. I had paused it at 12, 13, 14, and 15. I'm starting again at 15. There he goes. And there's the follow through from Kevin Sehmer. 100% inconsistent with what he told Detective Hoffa. He claims he's the guy making this motion. I just went like this and blocked.
I'm gonna see what I can do here. Because I didn't see shit there, and most in chat I can see are saying the same thing.
There he goes. And there's the follow through from Kevin Sehmer.
There was nothing that... Also, Court TV, get your shit together. It'd be great if you could use the arrows for navigation.
There he goes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And there's the follow through from Kevin Sehmer.
There's no follow through. There's... Full screen at 27 inches, you can barely see it. I mean, that's the guy there. Like, that's his pants, that's his shirt, that's... Still, I'm still... Oh, for...
13, 14, and 15. I'm starting again at 15. There he goes. And there's the follow through from Kevin Sehmer.
Oh, is that Sehmer that's still standing there? Is that... Did he just fall? Is that where he went down? Oh, I think it might be.
Sehmer. I'll continue playing. I had paused it at 12, 13, 14, and 15. I'm starting again at 15. There he goes. And there's the follow through from Kevin Sehmer. 100% inconsistent with what he told Detective Hoffa. He claims he's the guy making this motion. I just went like this and blocked the stool. He did not. That's a follow through, folks, from a right hook. He stepped through it. You see his body turn. That is a solid punch to Joshua Davies' head. That's what that is. He did not make the motion Josh Davies made of that. He stepped over. You see his body physically turn. That's the force of the punch. Nobody saw Josh Davies swinging a stool out. It did not happen. Mr. Sehmer, in his interview with Detective Hoffa, is trying to make himself look good. He's trying to justify his actions. He's telling her misinformation, falsehoods, because he wants to say, 2 guys started swinging stools at me and I had no choice but to hit one of them.
Certainly looking like
Now, another thing that was suggested during the opening statement of Attorney Shiro was that, well, there really wasn't a battery at all. We think Josh just tripped on the stool and fell on his own.
I think we can say that's out the window.
Nowhere in the video do you see that. No eyewitness described that. They were all asked. Jen was asked, Brian was asked, John was asked. Did you see Kevin trip over anything? No, I did not. I saw Kevin Sehmer punch him in the head and then he dropped to the ground like a house of cards. That's what I saw. He didn't trip. There's no evidence he tripped over the stool. None whatsoever. And in fact, that is directly contradicted by the testimony of our medical examiner, Dr. Bidricki. I've only known the woman 30 years. Bidricki. Remember how she described the level of force, the acceleration that would have had to have occurred in order for Josh to have the injuries that he did. That is not consistent with a trip, she said, because there would not have been enough acceleration from a simple trip or a stumble. I asked her, how much force do you think would have to be involved for injuries like this to be obtained? And she said, quite a significant amount of force.
Damn.
Quite significant. Remember, she described the hemorrhaging in the brain that was so deep. She said it's actually pretty unusual to see that level of injury that deep in the brain because of the sheer force. Remember, she was using that term, the velocity, the shearing force.
But was she
when that head hit the
learned
ground.
in the objects of forward?
Sadly, because Josh was unconscious and couldn't brace himself in any way. Fell down. John Laporte described in detail, and I'm sorry because I know this sounds really cold, but he saw Josh's head bounce off the sidewalk. That's exactly what Dr. B said. Remember how she described the injuries in the front of the brain, from the brain hitting the skull in the front? Her testimony absolutely matches the witness statements. And the event as we know it unfolded is that Kevin Sehmer forcefully, violently smashed Josh Davies in the head and caused his injury and ultimately his death. Interestingly, not even Kevin Sehmer told Detective Hoffa that Josh tripped on the stool, so that was new information in the trial. Even Mr. Sehmer never suggested that. He admitted that he pushed Mr. Davies forcefully, and that's what caused him to fall.
Tell me what that was, the camera, not my eyes.
I'm now going to play clip from Exhibit 26, in which he expressly...
Period. So I'm going like this, trying to, and I think he's going like this and trying to hit me, and as he's doing that, I luckily got a good, with the open hand, I got a good grip of the, and I didn't grip it, but I mean, I got a good spot on the stool where I just, if you want to use the word violently.
A bar stool's a bar stool, right? Like between countries, that doesn't change. It's you've got the you've got the padded bit at the top, and you get the 4 legs, and they may have some interjoining things at the bottom, right? We're talking about a bar stool. How do you get a good grip on a bar stool with an open hand if someone is allegedly holding it up like this? I mean, unless it's like upside down, and he's saying you got to, but then you'd be pushing like that. No.
That's kind of unfair, but I would say, yes, I pushed him down with one open hand, and he immediately went down to the ground, and I didn't say nothing to anybody else. I turned around and I walked away. That was it.
So not even Kevin Sehmer claims this was just a trip or a stumble because Josh was so inebriated, he had lost all of his motor skills. Remember that? By the defense, they brought in Dr. Henson to try and tell you that he had lost his gross motor skills, his fine motor skills, and he was so intoxicated that he couldn't even defend himself. Attorney Zillaby asked him that. Well, if he's this intoxicated, then he wouldn't have an ability to defend himself from a sudden attack, right?
I mean, apparently he's the owner.
Dr. Henson admitted that. There's no evidence, and you could see the Tabby's video.
Change the channel name so people could actually find me if
that
they're looking
Josh
for lawyers
Davies
and
was
laughter.
unable to comprehend what was going on around him.
Don't worry, Bush. I've got my other account that's just Aussie Overlaw'd.
That his balance was impaired.
I think if I change it to a
could
brand
not,
account, that I'll get my name back.
Function properly, right? Hey, I get it, folks. A .24, yeah, I'm not here to tell you he was stone sober. I'm just here to say it did not have the impact on him that you may expect. You just hear a number. You don't know anything about it. You don't know how much he had to eat. You don't know what his tolerance is. So look at the video with your own 2 eyes and tell me, was he grossly impaired by his level of intoxication? If so, where is it in the video? In fact, what we see in the video that I just played for you, number 8, is him walking backwards very adequately, right? Backpedaling 5, 6 steps, whatever it is. Is that somebody who is grossly impaired? He's not grossly impaired. He's got a .24
Pesky Citizen gets it.
He is not grossly impaired. You cannot reach that conclusion based on this record. Nobody said it. Nobody. The people that are with him that night, and the video speaks for itself. Absolutely not. This incident is not attributed to Josh's level of intoxication. It's attributed to the actions of Kevin Sehmer. Had Kevin Sehmer not punched him in the head and knocked him out and caused him to fall to the ground and hit his head, he would not be dead. It's just that simple. That's why Kevin Sehmer is charged with felony murder, because he engaged in a felony. That is aggravated battery.
I'm sorry, it's what now?
Punched Josh.
It's what? It's aggravated battery. Oh, honey, I know I get the Wisconsin, but come on. Aggravated battery? Aggravated battery. Now I'm an aggravated Aussie.
Josh in the head. Aggravated battery. And when Josh fell to the ground and hit his head, that's what led to his death. It's his actions, his conduct that caused Josh's death. No other conclusion can be reached on this record. I have an opportunity to speak to you again in rebuttal because it's my burden of proof. And in fact, as Mr. Sehmer has claimed self-defense, I have to overcome that and prove to you this case was not self-defense. So I'm going to reserve some of my comments for my rebuttal closing. There's other things I want to talk to you about, but I think they will be more helpful to you in the context of understanding the defense position that this was self-defense. Thank you.
Okay, now as I said, I managed to get a copy of this Firefox 6 so we can actually... Because this guy talks annoyingly slow as well. So now we're going to listen to the defense, and we've got 20 minutes of closing rebuttal, and then we'll go to the verdict. I figure we might as well knock off the entire trial. So, grab in, people.
The state has spent a lot of time trying to make this homicide case about an argument.
Oh, holy shit, maybe not. Hang on.
To make this homicide case about an argument where my client was
Never
acting
mind, we're stuck at
boorishly and
1.25 speed.
inappropriate.
We're stuck at one speed.
I think I told you in the beginning I didn't think you would find that his behavior was okay inside Tabby's. It wasn't. But this case isn't about bad behavior inside this bar. It's not. Mr. Davies was never injured inside Tabby's. There are really two issues. They're complicated, factually, but there's really two issues. First, not complicated. Did Mr. Sehmer...
You feel like you're stoned because this guy is just going to go on and on and on. He does this for 45 freaking minutes, and I'm annoyed because if Fox had gotten their shit together, we could have watched it at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. And this guy's crazy-ass eyes would make a little bit more sense. Typical slow Midwest talker, can't stand it. Like I said, strap in.
Batter, punch, Mr. Davies. That's one issue. If you determine that my client didn't batter him, didn't punch him, then that's it. Then it's not guilty. As simple as that. I think that's what happened here. And I think that's what the evidence shows. But let's just kind of break it down so that you can understand, because it's a little complicated. The second issue is, well, if we thought he battered...
Oh, hang on. Give me 2 seconds. I might be able to pull up.
The state has spent a lot of time...
Nope, that's Fox 6.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
The state...
Thank Christ! There's a YouTube video.
has spent a lot of time. Our behavior was okay. Case isn't about bad behavior inside this bar. It's not. Mr. Davies was never injured inside Tabby's. There are really two issues. They're complicated, factually, but there's really two issues. First, not complicated. Did Mr. Sehmer batter...
Oh, trust me, it was going to be just painful for me.
Mr. Davies? That's one issue. If you determine that my client didn't batter him, didn't punch him, then that's it. Then it's not guilty. As simple as that. I think that's what happened.
You motherfucker. Even if he had pushed him the way that he said that he did, with an open hand, unless you can prove that it was in defense, that's still a battery, dumbass. Do not be disingenuous to the jury. Oh my god, this is 45 minutes, and I'm going to be stopping and starting because I'm going to be tearing this guy apart. Oof. I can't work out why my Coke tastes like crap. Probably because I used a glass that had apple and blackberry juice in it.
Here. And I think that's what the evidence shows. But let's just kind of break it down so that you can understand, because it's a little complicated. The second issue is, well, if we thought he battered Mr. Davies, was he acting in self-defense? That is, was he doing whatever he did because he was being assaulted by Mr. Davies? I indicated initially, that is in the opening statement, that this was an argument that had already ended. Now, I'm not asking, or should I ask, that you not consider the fact that my client had been acting badly in the bar. I mean, that's obviously evidence in the case. It's, however, as I again would state, that's not where Mr. Davies was hurt. So they had, that is, Mr. Sehmer and the two women were talking, okay? I doubt they particularly liked Mr. Sehmer, although they did both stay there, and they were talking. It wasn't a long time. At some point, my client, gives a hug to Ms. Burke, but whatever, and they were standing together, the two women. And if Mr. Davies doesn't come in the bar and start screaming to Mr. Sehmer and to his wife, "Are you still talking that blah, blah, blah?" There's no event. And there isn't. So while it doesn't mean that what my client had done previously doesn't matter, but it is like, well, okay, the facts of this case are that it really had kind of stopped. It didn't make him not a bore in his behavior, but it was over. And then Mr. Davies came back in. I think, based upon the evidence, is that he didn't like the fact that his wife was still talking to him. I mean, I kind of get it. It makes kind of sense. He's probably thinking, why are you talking to that jerk? I mean, he was just rude to me. So I get that. I mean, I do. I'm not critical of Mr. Davies. I'm not. I mean, I get it. He was mad at that point, and probably more mad at his wife. But he was mad. And then when my client hears this, my client then goes out of the bar. And the two women try to stop him. It doesn't quite work. He gets upset. And they try to get him out. I mean, they try to get him to not go out because he had been angry already once. Okay? But then what happens? Okay? Now, you're going to see, this is what Ms. Burke wrote that night about what happened. And you remember, she was, she didn't go outside like Ms. Davies did. She says, "From inside, I saw through the window that Josh had a chair raised above his head." Now, this is not Mr. Sehmer saying this. Okay? Let's be clear about this. This is not Mr. Sehmer's statement. This is Ms. Burke's statement, a longtime friend of Ms. Davies and a friend of Josh's. She is the one who says that night he had a chair raised above his head to hit Kevin as he approached. That's her statement, not Mr. Sehmer's.
Hang on.
I think I overheard someone say,
"Hang on." Isn't she the one that said that he had the chair to defend himself against the charging 6-foot-something drunk off his ass ape? And yes, and other people have said differently.
he has a chair, or he's going to hit him with the chair. Again, this is Miss Davies and Josh's friend. That's what she saw that night, not Mr. Sehmer. She saw it that night. Now, Miss Davies, she says that her husband picked up a chair or a stool to defend himself. And she's, not very happy with Mr. Sehmer at this point. And she says, the man who I know as Kevin ran after him screaming at my husband about God and tattoos. My husband defended himself and picked up a chair or a stool to defend himself from this crazy person who went after him for no reason. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Well, it is that night, and I do understand that she was upset, okay? This was, in fact, traumatic for her. Her husband was now in a hospital. While they're doing, that is, medical professionals are doing things to help him, she has an opportunity to write this statement out. Now,
absolute truth, Bush. I've never been in a single situation where a drunk white woman has de-escalated a situation. Caused a few escalations, but never a de-escalation.
And I understand that people, when they're upset, maybe they're not as clear as we'd like. But what's disturbing is that what she should have been upset about, if her current story is true, that is, if she believed, based upon what she saw, that Mr. Sehmer punched her husband, causing him to go to the ground, is it reasonable? Is it in our life experience that you would exclude the single most important fact of this incident? This thing that has put your husband in the hospital. That you would not include what it is that she now says is the reason he was in that hospital, the punch. Now, with all due...
You understand that she also excluded from that the fact that, that actually doesn't help you. Because your client said on video that he put his hand up and likely touched him or whatever else. And that's not included in her statement either. Like the two drunk chicks on the Apple River who were trying to calm things down. I need that clip from Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. In this case, I don't think that point makes the point that you think it means. Like,
due respect to Mrs. Davies, this is a difficult circumstance. I get that. But when I asked her about why she didn't include it, she seemed to suggest that, well, I mean, I thought we were all going home. I think that's kind of what she said. That's really not unreasonable. I mean, not only is it not reasonable, it's kind of ridiculous. It is impossible to believe.
You moron. Okay, not only is it possible that she thought that he went without saying that he'd been hit and was there, and that's the reason that he was on the floor. There's also the distinct possibility that she thought that if she'd included it in the statement, that there'd be criminal charges irrespective, and that she was trying to, I don't know, maybe protect her husband, because maybe, just maybe, there might have been mutual battery charges against each other. She thought that maybe they could sweep it under the rug, potentially. Yeah, maybe she did something stupid, but that does not mean that your client did not smack the guy in the head. Worked in a bar for 2 years, used to frequent other bars, have never seen a drunk woman calm anything down. White women also tend to insert themselves into situations. Yep.
That's the excuse that you didn't write. He punched my husband. Had she really seen him, my client, punch her husband and has him go to the ground, it would be the single most important thing she wanted to make certain that law enforcement knew. He punched him. But she didn't. She went part of the way and said that he picked up a stool to defend himself, which is like what Ms. Burke said. I mean, the two women there both say the same thing. He picked up this stool. And I think Ms. Davies says he had it up here by his head. Ms. Burke said it over his head. I don't know that it really matters, okay? But if we take, for example, Ms.
You want to try that again?
It's here by,
you don't think it matters?
Kind of above his shoulders. And she also, having acknowledged that he did that, she also in her statement doesn't say that he chucked, I think was her word, I hope that's right, but something like he chucked the stool at Mr. Sehmer. Now again, just as it is difficult to understand.
I know, I agree with you, AP, but there's stereotypes for a reason.
That you would do this, you would write this statement and not include that he, Mr. Sehmer, punched him. It's also difficult to understand how you're actually writing about the fact that he had this stool to defend himself and not say, well, how did he do that? It is kind of an interesting absence, okay? Now we have I'm not including that he was punched, even though I'd seen it supposedly, but I'm not going to include what he did with the stool or chair. Everybody thinks it's a stool, a metal stool. So instead, she waits till the trial, not in her statement, to say, well, he just chucked it. Well, you would have said that night. Yeah, he had a chair, but he just threw it on the ground, or threw it towards him, but didn't do anything. I mean, she says to defend himself. Well, okay, how? Now, it doesn't matter that she doesn't have all the details, But the two important details are, one, say that your husband was punched by my client, and two, and what he did with the stool that he was defending himself with. So those two witnesses, the state seems to suggest, tell the same story, and they kind of do. The story, though, is that Mr. Davies had a stool and used it to defend himself. And in fact, somebody even screamed, he's going to hit him. I mean, that's what they said that night. That's what they said that night. It's a different story now, but I get that. But the government has to prove this case. And I'm sorry.
He's going to hit him. Again, not sure that helps you in the way that you think it does.
It's a bit odd to suggest, well, I know this is really complicated. And I mean, they're all telling different stories. As if in our system, you can convict somebody of a crime, a serious crime, even though, well, nobody really knows what happened. They don't really know because they all saw things and they're all different things. And yeah, that's okay. Well, is it? Is it okay that they can't tell a story that makes any sense? Some of it is just simply not sensible. But that's what the state is asking us. Now, the other thing that's a little odd is that Ms. Davies, again, I'm not trying to be mean to her, she says that she was actually right with my client. I mean, with her husband. I mean, she was right next to him. Now, you're going to see these videos because I'm going to play them because they really kind of matter. What you're not going to see is Jennifer Davies anywhere near there. I mean, nowhere near her husband. I mean, she's just not there. Now, one of the witnesses says, well, she never came out, but she's not there, okay? Which is a little odd because given what you're going to see and already have seen in these videos, you're going to see that Josh does kind of launch himself. I mean,
he's expecting a drunk chick to catch her husband who's also drunk and just been hit in the head. Okay.
If you look at it slowly, you can see he literally is launching himself. And he then, something happens and he goes down. Now, the state can say, yeah, there's the follow-through of a punch that we can't actually see. I don't know. I don't know how much counsel knows about boxing, but it's not like that. So she was right there. Presumably, if she were right there, you remember how we see he just goes down. She'd be right there. And there are reasons that we would think, one, she wasn't there, and two, if she was, we'd have seen her. But she wasn't. So the videos, and we're going to play them, and I'm not going to play just one, and I'm not going to play the first one. We're going to use the enhanced slowed one, okay? Because I want to show you some stuff, okay? And I think it would be fair to say that any of us who have been dealing with this, and now you folks, have to deal with these videos, and they are hard, okay? They're hard. They're hard because you're looking at various different things. You're trying to look and see where maybe somebody's legs are, where somebody's hands are, where their head is, where they are, where they're moving. But I just want to show you these videos because you really need to see these. And with all due respect, the prosecutors claim that, oh, and this shows it all. Well, it does, but it doesn't show the battery that you're saying. That isn't what we're going to see. You can pretend you're seeing it, but you're not. So let's just take a look at it, if I may, okay? And I apologize, you're probably sick of seeing these, but they are important, okay? And without seeing them, it's hard to judge this.
Okay, counsel, let's see what you got. These are supposedly enhanced videos that were shown during the trial.
The enhanced, okay? They made it better, so make it easier for us to see. And then we're going to play
Zoom
that,
and
and then I'm going
enhance.
to play it where it's slowed, okay? So you get to see the same thing, but you're going to see it first fast, real time, and then halftime, okay? So if you could play
Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you please tell us what exhibit numbers you're displaying?
What number?
This is Exhibit 12.
Exhibit 12.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
Whoa!
what we just saw.
Okay, the enhanced video makes a little bit of a difference, doesn't it? Hang on. I myself am just going frame by frame at the second. Sorry about the clacking, I know. Okay, so I must have been pretty damn close when I actually skipped it ahead. So that would appear to be Davies walking backwards. I mean, it's difficult to see, but I'm not seeing anything in terms of like a chair or anything. We're looking in this direct area here, by the way. Oh, haven't heard me typing? Okay. Can I zoom in on that? I can only zoom in one frame at a time, unfortunately. So I can't, like, magnify it and then press play and have it play over the top. So, I mean, I can do this, but it's more or less the same as going full screen. Okay, so that's him coming down towards the left. I don't see any chair whatsoever. He's gone down. That's him on the ground there. Those are his legs. Looks like he goes to get back up, maybe. Oh, no, they paused it.
What we just saw was a couple of things. And I don't expect you to see everything you've seen, but we've seen a couple of things. We clearly see Josh moving backwards, right? I mean, there's no question about that. And then he does seem to move a little bit to his right. And then we see him kind of launch himself. Can you have this backwards?
I mean, launch himself.
See how it looks like he's going up?
Hang on. So he's trying to say there that he's swinging the stool or something at him. And then he just goes down. No stools thrown or seen thrown what I can see, but blurred illusion, so don't take my word for it. Eh. Looks like he got launched. I see it too, it looks like shit.
See how it looks like he's going up?
That's bullshit! It looks like he clocked him, one of them walked away.
Okay, I'm not. It does appear that both his legs seem to leave the ground. And then the next thing is, shortly after that...
You mean like someone that gets hit in the temple and goes down sideways? Like, I mean, if I'm here and I go...
that he is falling kind of to his right and down. Now, I'm gonna have her play this, the next one, which is, what number?
Exhibit 13.
Number 13. This is the half speed.
No. That looks to me like he got clocked in the head.
Thank you. Okay, so again, it's hard because even slowed, it's still a little complicated, and obviously looking through these windows we know isn't perfect. I mean, it's just not perfect. So, but again, it does appear that, well, one thing that's utterly clear is that this isn't Josh standing there and getting punched. This is Josh moving. I'm using the word launching because his legs seem to get off the ground. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think he did that in a moment, but that's what the videos show, okay? Now, of all the witnesses that had some information, all but Mr. Richardson says that Josh had a stool at some point. Obviously, both Mrs. Davies and Ms. Burke are very clear that, yeah, he had it. They hear people yelling that he's got a chair. Mr. Richards said, no, he never had a chair. Now, he has had some issues in the past, and you are able and can consider that incredibility. But it doesn't, you don't get to say, well, you know, I still want you to consider his testimony. You believe him, even though what he's saying is different than everybody else. We can't do that. We can't ask you to plug this into making computers and say, all right, what does all this mean? Well, the state has to prove this case. It's not just like, oh, just figure it out, but it's all okay. Well, it's not okay if you're trying to prove that my client committed this crime, because it's not what they're saying he did. Now, Mr. Laporte originally said that possibly Joshua had a stool or a chair, I think a stool, but later he said, no, that didn't happen. It's a little odd, because you would expect him even to say, well, I wasn't sure, but now I'm sure he didn't have it. But in any event, his testimony is kind of not helpful to anybody, quite frankly, because he puts this whole event a half a block away. And if that were true, there wouldn't be any activity over here. If he'd be way to the left of this, I mean, it just didn't happen. I don't know why he recalls things the way he does, and why
Almost
he
as
claims
if
he saw what he
eyewitness
saw.
testimony is unreliable.
But it's so out of the range of anybody else's version of what happened. And it is utterly refuted by this video. Whatever Josh and Mr. Sehmer are doing, it's not a half a block the other way. I mean, it's right there.
Holy shit, this guy's not even halfway through his defense closing. What could you possibly go on for another 20 minutes about?
So I don't know what we can say about his testimony other than it doesn't support the state's burden of proof in establishing guilt. Now, do you remember when Mr. Armstrong talked about absolute difference? It's a little...
Hey, motherfucker. How are you?
Let's look at absolute difference. What he said, and this is the dark one, the two dark videos, okay? What he says that objects that are darker, that are stationary, and they get lighter if they're in motion, okay? It's weird. I don't completely understand it, but that's what he said it does. So I want to show you these for a minute. There's two, okay? And I'm going to show them to you. They're in different speeds. There's a regular speed and the partial speed, okay?
This is Exhibit 14.
Thank you.
That looks like a guy getting his head stomped.
Go ahead, keep going. Okay, now, one thing that is pretty clear already, just even in full speed, is that this is where Mrs. Sehmer said she was, and there's nobody there. And if she had been there, she would have had to have been moving around here. She would have been very clearly a moving object, a moving person, okay? She's not there. That's relevant because it's kind of an odd thing to be so wrong about when she was there. She just wasn't there. Right, now I gotta clear this. All right? Now we're gonna play it slower. And what number is this, please?
This is Exhibit 15.
All right.
It very much... No, hang on. Watch that again, as they come into frame. It looks like Josh is trying to run away from him.
Right.
He turns and looks at the guy.
I want you to tap. No, go back.
And then he gets hit and goes down.
There.
Starting from 4 seconds.
4 seconds. Stop. Back it up just a bit.
And he gets punched and he goes down. That's exactly what that looks like to me.
Tap, tap, tap. Stop. Stop. I need you to tap this. That's there, please. Okay? Don't run it at their speed. Okay?
Okay. Would you like me to slow down?
Yes.
More for-
But you gotta back it up now. Stop. This. See that? That's it's now lighter because it's moving. Something has just moved, quite frankly, right at his feet. And there's something else that we see, which is this. Okay? You see how there's light there? We went from it being kind of dark. I mean, it's all moving, but that is a moving object. That's why it looks light. That is the stool. Can I be 100% certain? I'm not going to tell you that. All I know is that Mr. Armstrong told us that's how this works.
Pretty much, Bernice.
That if something is moving, it is lighter than something that is just stationary. And we know.
Oh, come on. It's video enhancement. There's always the possibility that something is not appropriate there. I presume he's trying to say that the light thing that appeared that there's movement is the stool going down. Doesn't change the fact that he clocked him after the fact.
We've now seen two things. We saw this thing. We've seen that thing kind of come down. It looks kind of towards Josh's feet. And up here is something. Now this lighter thing is here. Now, go ahead and play it this way. I think I have to clear this. Focus, though.
Even if he had the stool, this video supports the story that the wife said that he picked up the stool to try and defend himself, because he's very clearly, you can see from the motion and the way that his orientation changes, he's running away from the 6-foot fucker. He's running away from the asshole, and he is trying.
Things from absolute difference. That's what they call it, so that's what it is. And what it is showing us, two very significant facts. This is the government's evidence. This is the government's expert brought this in. And what we've now seen are two really important facts that I think are somewhat irrefutable. One, something has come at his feet, and two, as he's lunging, as I've called it, we see movement. We see this lighter, whatever they call it, which is something that happens when something's in motion. And what's in motion here is not, as counsel says, him raising his hand. No, it's him with the stool in the position, quite frankly, that his...
Oh, fuck off.
His wife had put in his hands earlier. Remember when he said he was like this? And what Ms. Burke says, he had it over his head. Now, of course, he can move. But the notion, when she said it was like at this is exactly what we just saw. That's what we saw. Thank you.
Come on, I dare you to bring the video back up so I can show you wrong.
The videos do show that, one, Mr. Davies lunged at him. Two,
actually,
that
to be
Mr.
fair,
Davies...
the irony is that itself could potentially cause a mistrial. Don't do that.
He's had something in his hand, and it's the stool. Now, I'm not going to claim that I know everything about this absolute difference, but I know what he told me. And what he told me makes it clear that what my client said is accurate. Now, I understand that the state claims, well, this is all Mr. Sehmer's fault. Well, he did get an argument with him. He did act like kind of a jerk. I get that. And then Mr. Davies comes back in and starts, yells at him and reignites
He's
this
saying that
thing.
if he did, it was purely to push him out of the way.
Leave the bar and yell at somebody who just called you a name. But it's not a crime to do that either, okay? Now, I have to differ with the prosecutor's belief that the medical examiner and Dr. Henson both essentially say, well, it doesn't matter, he was, he really wasn't drunk. I can tell you, I think without fear of contradiction, that no prosecutor in the state of Wisconsin has ever told a jury that a person with a .24 blood alcohol level was not impaired. That has never happened, probably in the history of Wisconsin.
And that's not even what she said.
Nobody would say such a thing. It's laughable. It's quite frankly ridiculous, and it's just a bit offensive considering my client's on trial. That, 2-4. Come on. I mean, come on, tolerance.
It's
we
irrelevant.
Well, yeah, we did see him, but it's a video, and 2, we don't really hear him say anything other than yelling some profanity. I don't know. I can't say exactly how it affects him, but I know nobody in law enforcement in this state or this country thinks that somebody with
If
that
anything,
much
eggshell
alcohol
skull rule
is
applies.
not impaired and is not
The actions of your client are irrespective
Now, why
of
does this
whatever
matter?
state
It's not
the
gonna make him seem like a
victim is
bad
in.
guy. I don't care if anybody gets drunk and not driving. What difference does it make? But in this case, his effort to try to hit my client with the stool is made more complicated.
Your client
Because
chased
when
him
Mr. Sehmer
down.
blocks it forcefully. He doesn't have the ability to right the ship, that he's just started down the path. He's up, his feet are kind of off the ground, he's trying to hit somebody, and that person forcibly resists that. Now, we did talk a little bit about the fact that everybody tolerates things differently, okay? And that's true. But there's a certain level of which, and I think Dr. Henson made it pretty clear that, well, at some point, everybody's impaired. Now, the other thing that's interesting is the medical examiner, she had an opportunity to see all the records, had the opportunity to do the autopsy. What she never said, never provided any testimony about, was that there was any injury to the side of Josh's face. Now, the state is arguing that there was this unbelievably hard smash to his face.
Okay, I'll admit, if that's legit and she doesn't address that in her rebuttal, that would be a massive oversight by the prosecution. Because, to be fair, during her opening and witness testimony that we heard, we didn't hear anything about the actual injury to the side of his face. But that could just be because it was overlooked. I hope she addresses that. I really do. That's a pretty big flaw in my opinion. Still depends how much damage would occur after he passed away. Although, I mean, to be fair, she did the autopsy. Oh, well, hang on. No, he was in intensive care for 27 days. Whatever damage was done to the side of his head, there's a good chance that the medical examiner's not even going to see it. I mean, surely there would have been photos taken at the incident when he was taken to the hospital, though. Yeah, again, I don't like that. But still, that actually makes sense as to why the coroner and the ME didn't mention the damage to the side of his face. Because more than likely than not, in the 27 days since he was hit and when he actually died, injuries would have been noted during intake. That's what I'm thinking. Well, let's hope she addresses it.
But not one bit of medical testimony or evidence suggested that Josh had any injuries, not any bruising, nothing regarding this. Not a bit. So you can say, well, it was really it must have been a hard punch because he hit his head so hard. Well, she then suggested and agreed that, well, of course, if somebody is, pushing and somebody pushes back hard, the law of momentum, the law of motion, okay? You can throw yourself down if you're doing this and somebody's going this backwards, and it appears Mr. Sehmer, being quite a bit heavier, would be in a position to exert far more force than the lighter Joshua. Now, it is pretty hard to argue that my client hit Mr. Davies so hard that he did all this damage. And
holy fuck! If there are 41 of you 41 of you over on Rumble watching, A, hit the thumbs up, but B, why are you not chatting more? Until Mofuk sent a chat through before, I thought the stream was dead. Hi!
Despite a plethora of medical people, medical personnel, nurses, doctors, and the medical examiner had all these records. And nowhere in there does she say, or did she find, that there was some evidence of any injury to his face. Now, given the degree of force that they're claiming my client exerted on his face, not on a stool that he was holding, that's hard to understand. Now, in Mr. Sehmer's interview, he wasn't utterly candid about everything. I mean, I think, but what the state didn't remind you of is that when he initially said there were two people with a stool, that later in that in the interview, he said, yeah, you're right. I acknowledge it. It was just Josh. It wasn't two people. So when he first said it, all right, he said it. I don't know why he said it.
No, it's dangerous. I treat Rumble like the middle child. That's not the
same thing. Given the circumstance of these two people, I don't know, I can't speculate. But you can't act as if he didn't say that, correct it. I mean, he did. He said, no, I agree. It was just Josh. It wasn't both of them with the stool or with chairs. So I don't know, other than the fact that what he said is utterly consistent with absolute difference, I don't know what else he could say. Now, as I indicated earlier, there's really two issues. One, did he commit a battery? Nobody, I don't think, is arguing that a person, whether they claim you provoked it or not, that you're allowed, once you provoke something, you're allowed to get hit in the face with a stool and you're supposed to just take it. You can't put your hand up. You provoked this, so you're going to get what's coming to you. That's not the law, okay? Now, I don't...
It is here. Provocation is no longer a defense to committing grievous bodily harm. If the force that you take after provoking somebody is not reasonable in the circumstances, if you kill somebody that you provoked, it's not a defense.
The issue of provocation is interesting. You know, it's a judgment you'll have to make, okay? I mean, whether the initial argument where my client wasn't behaving badly, I think is enough to say, well, that's provocation, he doesn't get self-defense. I think most people would hate to think that if I misbehave, 10 minutes later, if somebody, calls me a name and I go want to talk to them about it, even if I am moving fast, that, well, too bad, you're going to get anything you have. If they want to, hit you with a baseball bat, too bad. You were a jerk, so you get hit in the head. I mean, but is it really a battery? I mean, is that reasonable? First of all, is it a battery to block a punch? Is it a battery to stop a stool that's being swung at your head?
No, I agree with you. That would be self-defense. But that's what happened in this instance.
I don't know. I mean, that's not... Because they have to prove that he intended to harm him. That's what a battery is. You caused harm and you intended to. Is it intending to cause harm when somebody tries to hit you with a stool and you block it? That's not intending to harm. That's just stopping something.
Did the definition of guilty act, actus reus, change at all in the US that I'm aware of? Yeah, no, this is complete and utter distraction. Not only that, I feel like the argument is quite disingenuous as well. Because the intention of the act is whether or not you intend to commit the act. It's not whether or not you intend to commit harm, it's whether you intend to commit the act. The harm flows from the act. Idiot.
Even if you go like this. Now, the second issue is, again, so if you say, well, that's not a battery, then the case is over. And did they prove that it was a battery? And remember, as the state acknowledged, they have to disprove self-defense. It's not like I have to prove self-defense. Once this has become an issue, which it clearly is in this case, okay, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he wasn't acting in self-defense. And I think it's hard to say if somebody hits you with a stool, you can't block it. So, but it's their burden of proof. But I'd like to talk to you about the burden of proof for a minute. The judge is going to give you the instruction. Okay, there's a couple important facts. One, the defendant is entitled to every reasonable doubt, if there's one.
That is true.
Is a reasonable doubt as to what happened. Now, I alluded to this earlier.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
You cannot tell the same story.
Thank you.
It doesn't mean you can't convict somebody, but it's hard to say, well, I don't have a reasonable doubt about what happened here when I don't get same stories, or where stories change, or locations change. He starts with the presumption of innocence and it remains. And it only stops if after you reviewed everything, you conclude that, well, no, he did this beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, one of the parts of the jury instruction says that if you can reconcile the evidence on any reasonable hypothesis consistent with his innocence, you must find him not guilty. You're not given a choice. If you say, well, we've considered this evidence, and there's evidence here that seems to suggest, and it's reasonable, that he didn't punch him, that all he did was block this, that's a reasonable hypothesis. Now, is it the only hypothesis? No, but if it's a reasonable hypothesis, and we know that absolute difference makes it a reasonable hypothesis, it's the actual truth, that Josh was swinging something. Now, the issue of this tripping, I have indicated, and I believe, that there are really three principal things that caused this. One is that he had left his feet and he was swinging a stool, which was blocked. Smaller force met larger force pushed it away, and he fell. The second is that he was intoxicated, grossly so.
Does this dude think that this guy's living in an anime?
But it does make it harder for him to do what he's trying to do physically.
Because you jump in the air and swing with a stool.
And lastly, that there does appear, I don't know if you want to call it a trip or what you want to call it, but absolute zero showed that something came right at his feet, just as about the time he's about to, launch. I don't know if that's a trip or if that's just another factor, but those are factors that caused him, I think, in part to go down. But the principle is he's trying to swing a stool, and my client blocks it, and in his intoxicated state, he fell. One of the things that the jury instruction says is that we should consider these things, like what is a reasonable doubt, okay? And it's complicated, but I think they do a pretty good job of explaining it. One of the ways they explain it, because they try to do it in a number of ways, one of the ways is this a kind of doubt that would give you pause or hesitation in acting in the affairs of life, okay? And, lawyers both on the state or on the defense or civil litigation, they all kind of can talk about this a bit, not in civil litigation, and they say, what are the kinds of things that we consider that are important in life? And would you not pause before you made such a decision? I've heard examples of well, if your child needed surgery and the doctors are saying, well, there's this and there's that, you could do this process, you could do this, or maybe you don't do that. And some people say, well, that's something that's an important affair of life. And would this cause you to say, well, I'm going to pause and hesitate before I make that decision? I don't know if that's completely fair, but it does kind of illustrate how important this is. I mean, it really is important. And that is, before I say guilty, before we say guilty, I need not...
Do not keep reinforcing the word guilty with the jury when you're trying to persuade the jury that your client is not guilty.
Not to have those doubts. I can look, I will examine it all critically, but at the end of the day, you can't say that I'm not in a position where I'm like, whoa, I'm really pausing on this. I don't know how you get there. How do we get to, he did this? And I don't think the state did that. I don't think the state can do that. And when you hear the state keep saying, well, there's this problem, that problem, it's, it's a long time ago, and, I'm sorry, my client's trial is today, and I understand it happened a year ago, but they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did this. And we don't get to just say he was a jerking tabbies, and don't worry that they can't, keep their stories consistent with the state's theory. You have to say no. There's both a reasonable hypothesis consistent with his innocence, and there are many, many reasons to doubt. And I think there are many reasons to doubt, and I'd ask that you find him not guilty. Thank you.
Oh,
Now, he would have
hallelujah.
you believe that at this point, he gets outside.
Oh. Damn, she went straight into the rebuttal. Okay. I mean, look, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do we feel about that closing? I personally would give it a solid 3.5. I think he worked with what he had, but I do not believe that he's convinced the jury. Again, plenty of issues there that I could criticize him on. The simple fact of the matter is, this is not a good case for his client. The points that he hit, in my opinion, scored points in favor of the prosecution. I feel like there were a few own goals there, particularly with the black on white video, because it clearly showed that the deceased got hit in the head. I'm sorry. It showed that the defendant chased the deceased. The deceased at one point turns around and then goes flying after he got hit. Rich saying he pissed him off too much. Would have asked the jury to get off the jury on it. Kind of showed his client murdering him. Yeah. All right, let's see how she finishes off the closing. Then we'll flip over to the verdict. After that, I'll probably send you all across devices, and then I'm going to get some sleep.
And 2 guys are out there with stools, right? That's his original version to Detective Hoffa. I walk outside, and there's 2 guys, all armed with stools, all revved up and ready to go.
All revved up and no one to blow.
You just turn around and walk back into the bar where you just came from? For safety?
That would make
sense. Why would you go out there in the first place? Why even go out there in the first place? But if you did, and you walked out there and there's 2 guys with stools over their head, wouldn't you just turn around and go back inside if you're not looking for a fight? Kevin Sehmer's looking for a fight. Kevin Sehmer thinks he's a tough guy. He thinks Josh is a little girl.
I saw it soon. Let's see how I can work into the show.
Provocation from start to finish. Charging out that door after Josh. You saw the hometown video. Josh is backing up, trying to get away from this raging bull. And he keeps going. He's afraid. He's afraid for his safety. Why keep going, Mr. Sehmer? Turn around and go back in the bar. Absolutely no explanation for his behavior other than he wanted to hurt Josh. He didn't like him from the start. He didn't like his tattoos. And he's going to be the one to finish this, right? He's not going out the back door with Laura. Not returning to his friends. In fact, he ran. He goes up to Josh, punches him in the head, and runs. Leaves his friend behind at the band and gets the heck out of there. When the cops go to his house at 5 a.m. to talk to him, doesn't come to the door. How drunk was Kevin Sehmer? Well, it'd be nice to know. If he hadn't run, police could have talked to him, gauged his level of impairment, maybe asked him to take a breath test. Who knows? We know Laura Burke said he was drinking all night. Every time she saw him, he had a drink in his hand, and he was drinking vodka. Cops knock on the door at 5 a.m. He doesn't answer, so can't view him then. It's not till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon that he finally shows up at the police department and they can get eyes on him. Well, that's 12, 14 hours later. Kevin Sehmer's the one who's acting like he's impaired. He's belligerent, he's difficult, he's argumentative, and he's right. No matter what anybody says, he's going to get the last word. He's right. This was not self-defense by Kevin Sehmer by any stretch. This is a man looking for trouble. I don't know why. It's absurd. Laura Burke said he was perfectly fine at the band. When I met him out at Beer Snobs, he was a nice guy. We got along. All of a sudden, what switched in his brain, I don't know. But I do know he attacked Josh Davies outside that bar for no reason whatsoever. I know that he punched him in the head, causing him to fall down with such force that it damaged the inner core of his brain. That's not tripping over a stool. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to figure out why he did it. I don't have to prove a motive. I can't. I can't prove a motive to you.
He was drunk as a skunk and decided that he didn't like the look of a guy that had tattoos.
What was that button?
Oh, you're in your PowerPoint. You can go ahead.
This is the last picture they took, Jen Davis.
What's that? YouTube chat's having a heart attack. How so?
He said, there they are at the street party. Man lost his life over what? Don't know. But I do know Kevin Sehmer is to blame for it. Kevin Sehmer is responsible for his actions that night.
Yes, he is.
Kevin Sehmer is responsible for Josh's death.
Would appear that way.
There's no question from Brian, who was there, Jen, who was there, and John, who was there. Kevin Sehmer punched him in the head.
Over these tats, too. It's not even that they're, like... Don't get me wrong, I'm not big on tats. Like... alabaster skin from my head to my toes. I was considering whether or not I might get Scarlett's birthday, but... you know, as far as tattoos go, they're not strictly unattractive. I mean, clearly this guy had to be in his bonnet because of, like... whatever, but... Look how fine she is. Kevin was jealous and drunk and violent. I kind of feel like that might be the motive. Given that he was talking her up. Remember, part of this was the fact that she was talking to Kevin. So...
And caused significant, great bodily harm to him. And ultimately death. That's an aggravated battery, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that death resulted makes it felony murder.
Okay, and that's her rebuttal. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the verdict. Be here somewhere. Back here. Closing argument, verdict.
Verdict in the tattoo punch murder trial in Wisconsin. The jury deliberated about 3 hours.
Yeah, don't care about you, mate. So yeah, as you just heard Big Mouth there, because I didn't get to say it myself, jury deliberated for a whole 3 hours before coming back.
Ms. Woods, are you the jury foreperson?
Yes, sir.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, we have.
I'd ask that you hand that verdict to the bailiff, please. The court is going to ask the clerk to read the verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of felony murder, aggravated battery with the intent to cause bodily harm as set forth in count 1 of the information.
Is there any request to poll the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Are there any motions?
State moves for motion, moves for judgment on the verdict, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge, I'm going to rethink that. Would ask that you poll the jury.
Would ask it be polled?
Yes, please.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the jury?
No! He made a mistake. He wants a jury poll.
Nicole Cummings.
And I think they just cut the audio because they started reading out jurors' names. Well done, Court TV. Brilliant job there. That wasn't even that she said the juror, that wasn't even juror number 1 or whatever. That was, she read the juror's name. You've had this up for 4 days and you still haven't been able to fix the audio on that? Are you insane?
All right, so the audio was down in the courtroom because as they polled the jurors, they're actually saying their name. We're looking.
You think?
The audio's up. Let's go back in the court.
From the defense.
For judgment notwithstanding the verdict, please.
Thank you. Court will deny the defense motion.
I know I shouldn't laugh because it's like one of those like par for the course things that how dumb is it to read the names? Look, some courts do it, some courts don't. But Court TV, having been in Wisconsin, should have known that they were going to do that. Or at least been prepared for the possibility.
I'll grant the state's motion. The court will revoke bail conditions. At this time, remand the defendant to the custody of the sheriff. We'll schedule this for sentencing. We'll pick that day, time and date in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your work as the jury on this case. I want to thank you for your effort. This is obviously a very difficult fact situation, and I know that the parties accept and believe that your effort was genuine and that your focus was true. I want to thank you for that. You're going to be retiring back to the jury room to collect your things. Tom will have some information for you, and I will speak to the parties. briefly, and then I will be available if you have any questions about your experience. So I will stop at the jury room where you're assigned.
I think I heard a fart. It might
If
have been my stomach
anyone
rumbling
wishes
because I'm still not
to
100%.
have an opportunity to ask any questions. All rise.
Really, at the end of the day, it's like the worst possible.
Oh my god. He walks in and the first thing he sees is a big black burly good dude with like all the tattoos and he goes, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Oh boy. I think that they're not actually going back into the court, so that was the end of it, so. Oh, ladies and gents, I believe that brings us to the conclusion of our recap of Wisconsin v. Kevin Sehmer. The tattoo punch murder trial. It's nice to be able to get through an entire... Am I trusting farts again? No comment. Yeah, it would be a form of justice. It's nice to be able to get through a trial in a single night. It only took us 3 hours 10. I thought that was quite... I was quite happy with that, actually.
Everything that guy just says, bullshit.
Not happy with that.
Everything that guy just says,
oh, and of
bullshit.
course now it's on replay because I tried to fix it. You know what? Screw it, Stinge. I'll read your oath that you gave to me. Because it seems only fitting. It seems only fitting given exactly what just happened. For I am the Aussie Overlord. This is my boomerang. There are many types, but this is mine. Boomerang is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I must master my life. Without me, my boomerang is useless. Without my boomerang, I am useless. I must boomer my stream true. I must boomer straighter when my members who are trying to streamer me. I must entertain him before he subscribed to me. I will, before God, I swear this creed, my boomer and myself, and defenders of my country. We are the masters of our stream. We are the survivors of my life. So be it until there is no enemy but boomerang. Look, if that was actually from something serious, I sincerely apologize. I got no idea, but it's something that Stingy sent me. So, Boomer Boot Camp. I just really hope I didn't just offend somebody. That's all I really care about. Because that sounds like it would be something seriously taken from like an army. Oh, Full Metal Jacket. Oh, of course. Okay. He who can unknowingly boomer for 3 hours. Yes. It's from the Marines. Hooah. Alright, guys. I am going to thank you all for being here. I will send you all across to Jeff. I will probably join him in a bit, because it looks like Sarah Boone's going to go for a while still. Oh, thank you to everyone. Make sure you've hit the like button on the way out, or let the door slap you on the ass. And as always, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, people, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace out, peeps.
This shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Bloody hell. I just saw that YouTube inserted ads as I was starting the outro, just so they could squeeze one extra one in there. Like, alright, this stream better stay monetized. This stream better stay monetized.